As $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at ethos.com/score. That's ethos.com/score.
Don't miss your chance to nominate volunteers for the Step Forward Awards. These awards are the state's most prestigious awards for volunteerism. We've extended the deadline to June 8th, 2025. If you know a volunteer who deserves to be honored for their service, visit serve.nebraska.gov and click Nominate Now. Made possible by sponsors like Omaha Public Power District. Nominations must be submitted by June 8th. Paid for by Serve Nebraska, aired by the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
The Zone Hotline is powered by Prairie Flower Casino. Play longer, win more.
I'm Omaha Athletic Director Adrian Dow, and I want to introduce you to 3 Omaha schools that are playing a vital role in keeping our community strong. We serve nearly 600 pre-K through 8th grade students, most of whom come from disadvantaged neighborhoods. These students receive a values-based education with the family support they need. I'm a proud member of the CUES Fund Board, which supports the CUES school system. To learn more, go to CUES Schools, that's CUES schools.org.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, let's talk ED because millions of men experience it, but not everyone can access or afford treatments like Viagra. Well, HIMS can help. Through HIMS.com, you can get a full range of treatment options for ED, including daily or as-needed meds through a 100% online process. It all starts with an online intake form. Get started at hims.com/radio, and from there, a medical provider licensed in your state will determine if ED treatment is right for you. If prescribed, your medication is shipped to you for free. Find the ED treatment that fits your needs with options up to 95% less than the brand names. Millions of men experience ED, but HIMS can help. To start your free online visit and save up to 95%, go to hims.com/radio. That's hims.com/radio for your free online visit. HIMS.com/RADIO.
I tried to hide my cigarette smoking. Then I was rushed into emergency surgery to repair the damage smoking did to my heart. It shocked everyone because they thought I was healthy. Yet because I smoked, I had a severe heart condition that nearly killed me. My tip is, you may be able to hide your smoking from the world, but you can't hide from the damage smoking does to your body.
Call the Nebraska Tobacco Quit Line, 1-800-QUIT-NOW, 1-800-784-8669. Paid for by Tobacco Free Nebraska. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
You're always better with a roof from JR.
We've all seen them. As soon as the big storm comes through, the storm-chasing roofers show up. Don't be a victim twice. Call locally owned, veteran-owned JR Roofing. No one protects your home and you like JR.
JR's there for you. You're always better with a roof from JR.
In fact, JR Roofing can let you know if you even need to be worried about storm damage. Online, visit jrhailcheck.com. Plug in your address and we'll pull a storm report. If there's nothing on the report, we'll give you hassle-free peace of mind. And if it looks like you got hit, we can come out and do a free inspection and help with any insurance claim. We'll never try to sell you a roof you don't need. But if you do need a new roof,
you're always better with a roof from JR.
Go to jrhailcheck.com.
Business owners everywhere are raving about ZipRecruiter's new feature, Zip Intro, which does the work of finding and scheduling qualified candidates to meet with you as soon as the next day. So we decided to call up some of these employers and hear their stories. Today, we're on the phone with Pilates studio owner Crystal M. Harris. Crystal, how has Zip Intro helped you hire?
Well, I was opening a Pilates studio in McDonough, Georgia, and I needed to staff up quickly. Zip Intro did the work for me. It helped me find enthusiastic candidates who matched my qualifications perfectly.
That's great.
Yeah, I had my Zip Intro session on Tuesday, did all the interviews by Thursday, sent out the offers on Friday, and they started on Monday. Because Zip Intro did most of the work, I saved so much time.
Absolutely. And to our listeners, you can try Zip Intro for free right now at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Zip Intro. Post jobs today. Talk to qualified candidates tomorrow.
Out here, you'll find a community of hardworking creators.
Hey, good Monday. Good morning. Happy Tuesday. Mother Nature, you suck. That's pure and simple for people that live here in the Omaha area that are on the schedule that we are. Mother Nature, you take the big L this morning.
It got you too, didn't it?
Yeah, usually I can sleep through those storms that rolled through like 2, 3 in the morning.
Oh.
I woke up this morning. I'm not
Really?
happy. Oh, it was my part of the city. The weather was nasty.
Did you go back to sleep?
I tried.
Damn.
I think I achieved nap quality in the back half of my sleep. So
I don't mean know. I don't mean to be that guy, but
go ahead and be that.
No, that's great. Yeah,
good on you for being able to sleep through it because it was loud.
I slept like a baby last night. I
take a little gummy.
No. I just
you a big gummy person there at night.
No, not at night necessarily, but I just slept well. I just slept well. I got tired.
Right.
See, I've been reducing my naps.
Yeah.
When I first started working here, my naps were like 3.5
Good on
hours.
You.
Like I would get like almost relative to like a full night's sleep from like 11:30 to like 3 o'clock. Okay. Now I have a timer. I'm strict on it. I do the most I do is an hour and a half because I can't. Then I can't. I don't go to sleep until 1, and then it's like 3 plus 3 doesn't count as 6 hours of sleep. That's what my doctor told me. So I'm only an hour nap guy, and now I just get tired.
Yeah.
At like 11, and then I hit the hay, and I'm out.
That's good.
It's good. I finally found a sleep schedule that worked for me. It was
nice.
What I was doing for the first 3 months was incredibly unhealthy.
Yeah, I was in the same boat because I was in a business where I'd be getting home from the ballpark at like 1:30 in the morning, and all of a sudden, I'm like, wait a minute, I'm starting a job where now 2.5 hours after I used to get home, I'm waking up. So good on you. Some people need gummies to go to sleep. Those are becoming more popular. Like you go to any dispensary, like the sleep gummies, and then the like the different brands of melatonin that is out there.
You can now drink business. You can drink it now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you can drink it.
This one's
and
called
that
Zombie.
That kind of like puts you a little woozy, and then that puts you to sleep. No, I'm not a gummy for sleep guy.
All right. So happy Tuesday, everybody. Welcome in. It's raining outside. I don't know. Are the major storms coming back through? It was nasty this morning.
Yeah, I think it's
was
just
not
supposed
happy.
to be. I haven't seen. I think it's mostly green.
Okay.
A little bit of yellow, maybe. That's not too bad. Last night it was red.
All right.
There was a lot of red.
The weather knows what's going on around here with the weather.
The weather report this morning goes, surprisingly, the temperature is actually going to go down from 6 o'clock into the day, which is like, I'm like, that's great.
Beautiful October day.
Yeah. Welcome to June. Welcome to the College World Series. Almost. If you stayed up last night and then you tried to go to bed and then all of a sudden the storms rolled through and you're like, well, that was a good 2.5 hours.
That's what got me.
LSU has survived the SEC wipeout. There is hope. There is, the world might be right.
It might be.
Case and Evans. There's some people that like to do an Eiffel Tower with you. But last night, LSU ruined the hopes and the dreams of St. Peter's of college baseball by defeating Little Rock. So here's what we have, because these super regionals are set. 16, they'll be whittled to 8. This time next week, we'll know who's coming to Omaha. So the SEC got lucky because it could have been just if LSU would have lost. They were down 5-1. They came back and they won 10-6 last night, late night in Baton Rouge. So there is at least one SEC team will be here, and it's going to be a banger of a super between Tennessee and Arkansas. I'd put that game on ABC. I put that entire series on ABC. I would have ISO cams on both head coaches in the dugouts.
Sure.
I would have an ISO cam on Liam Doyle. I mean, that's just going to be, there's going to be so much trash being talked, and let's just imagine the people in the stands. You're going to mix Arkansas and Tennessee baseball fans together in Fayetteville.
That's awesome.
That is what college baseball is supposed to be about. So we have one SEC team for sure. We could have 3 that could make it. Only 4 of the 13 made it to the Supers. And again, LSU found a way to win last night because that did not look good. That did not look good at all. Little Rock was playing well. You're like, okay, what are the odds here? And that's why I bring up St. Peter's, because I was trying to find an equivalent of like March Madness compared to what Little Rock is doing, which finished 8th in their conference.
Yeah.
What they almost did was pretty damn impressive, but LSU holds on. But the story might be, outside of the cool Murray State logo, is the ACC. the ACC could have 4 teams here. They got 5 of their 9 advanced to the Super.
They have, I mean, they're guaranteed at least one in as Louisville's going to take on Miami. But then also, too, I mean, that Florida State-Oregon State series, I know that it's not necessarily like the big brand names in terms of Tennessee and Arkansas, but like that's an 8-9. That's going to be a banger.
Yeah, Florida State's a brand for baseball.
Well, I mean, I think
Oregon State in baseball is a brand.
But I'm saying compared to
isn't it? That's what I was thinking watching yesterday.
You compare to the 2-10. I'm just saying compared to the SEC matchup. But no, I mean, I got in the 3rd inning when LSU had the bases loaded and that entire stadium stood up and they were down 5-1. And then they was just a lazy fly ball to left field. I go, uh-oh, like this, like that was a big opportunity. And I thought Little Rock might be able to carry that momentum all the way to the finish line. But Evans was incredible yesterday. I mean, he was awesome. So that was a really, really cool game to watch. And more SEC teams here, the more fun we have.
Okay, let's discuss that because, I think if you look at the super regional field, and we're going to get Duke or Murray State will be here, which means that the norm of Let It Fly, Ryan Miller could be back here.
Sure.
Now the head coach at Murray State, former Creighton assistant. Every time I walked into Let It Fly, he was doing business at the corner of the bar. I mean, he was on his phone. He was talking to people. I know why you're a really, really good recruiter. But if Murray State is here, and it will be Murray State or Duke, and Duke has never hosted, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I don't know if that grows the game, but it's like unique because we don't see Duke or, of course, Murray State around here. But if Murray State gets here, their gear, that logo, that's a pretty cool logo. I might be enticed to buy a Murray State hat if the Racers make it to Omaha.
I like
that's
it
a big deal because you don't just buy hats.
Yeah,
that is true.
I just don't wear hats to be wearing hats, right?
Hey, I have a hat collect. Do you like my new one today? It's a nice one. I
didn't even look at it.
Is it for Breast Cancer Awareness Month?
No,
you with the Tiger Woods?
It's a Tiger Woods hat, and it's
pink,
and it's slightly pink. It's like a new, style pink. Like
I didn't know if you were supporting Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
No, I just don't have a good hat for golf that goes with red or white. Like I'm all like blue and black when it comes to my golf hat, so I had to mix it up. But anyway, I like it when teams that aren't affiliated with a sport accomplish great things in a different sport because it's just a different thing. Like Duke is a basketball school, but I like it when you see that Duke is really, really good at football or really, really good at baseball. Like it's different. Same thing with like when Kansas is good at football. They're a basketball school. It's a little bit different to see them have that success. It's just one of those one of those fun things we have in sports. So I'm excited for them to host regional.
We could have a Murray State versus UTSA game at the College World Series. Now, this is where it comes into the fan, the business owner, the people that are involved in the broadcast. I think for the SEC Invitational, which will not happen, I just hope now people go, okay, Sharpie, let's hop on the Dave Van Horn bandwagon because North Carolina, Arkansas would be a great championship series. This might be the year that the path is opened up for Arkansas to win the national championship and for Dave to do whatever he wants to do at the age of 64. So go ahead, buy stock in Arkansas to win the national championship. They got to get by Tennessee, which is going to be wild. But Arkansas is playing really, really well. So the business owner does not want UTSA and Murray State here.
No.
Because they're not going to bring the abundance of fans. They're going to spend money. Now, they may come here and spend money, but they're not going to be the volume of the Ole Miss fans that would have been here or some of the other SEC schools that would make it here, or even a Tennessee or Arkansas. So you're not going to get both. You're only going to get one. So that's the business owner going, uh-oh, we might be in trouble here.
Now, if the Spurs were coming up here, it might have been a little different. But.
Yes, it would be. I would think that would be very awkward. Why would they be in Omaha in the middle of June? But yeah, it's for another show. But if you're a fan of the College World Series, you have seen kind of the same teams over and over, 6 straight years. The SEC has won a title, 6 different teams. And you're like, you know what? It'd be kind of cool to have Duke or Murray State here. Or how about this? I think one of the stories that have this weekend flown under the radar, how about Miami?
Yeah.
So Miami baseball has been wandering in the Sahara for a while.
Used to be great.
Since Jim Morris retired. It's been a long time since Miami won a national championship. And all of a sudden, They go into Hattiesburg. They looked really good last night in a closeout game, and now they got to play, as you were alluding to, at least one ACC team will be in it because they play Louisville. How about Miami? Miami back in the days of Rosenblatt when they were here, we got feels. Miami could make it here.
They looked really good yesterday against Southern Miss. Like they controlled that game from the very beginning. And you've heard me say before, it was a stiff arm game. I mean, they just kind of stiff armed Southern Miss the entire time. Hey, they made a run here or there, and it looked like Southern Miss had momentum, but it seemed like for the most time it was the Hurricanes game. It's Miami. I feel like just in sports in general they've always been that brand, and everybody knows everybody knows those colors, but they necessarily haven't been at the very top of any of these sports. And so when they're back,
why
on
do you
these
think
stages,
that is?
I don't like I think it's kind of a string of hires. Like Mario Cristobal, I don't think has been like the greatest hire for Miami football. You reference that their baseball coach, that had all that success there is no longer there. It's been kind of just a different regime over the last couple of years in Miami athletics in terms of coaches. And I also do think too, like NIL, I think they made the assumption that NIL was just automatically going to help them because a lot of money that they had, and they necessarily haven't made all the best investments in terms of making those contributions, but they're here and now they're like the point is that whenever on their biggest stage, whenever they're in front of everybody, it's just fun. It's just good for the sport. It brings back memories from when they were always consistently at the top, especially in football.
I don't know about that. I don't know if the sport is better if Miami is at the top.
No,
when Miami was at the top, you could rattle off, and by the way, they're going to be preseason top 10 this upcoming year.
Plus, it's not the same without the Orange Bowl.
How many Miami football players outside of Carson Beck could you rattle off? But back in the day, and that maybe shows that college football has changed with some free agency and guys bouncing around, and how Miami football has kind of been irrelevant. Can't really name Miami players. Like back in the day, you could name probably all 22. But I think there's just something about the baseball program, football aside. Sure. And, in basketball, you thought, Jim Larinaga would keep them near the top of the ACC, and they had that nice little run, and then things fell apart. And I think they made a really, really good hire in Jay Lucas from Duke. But baseball is different. Just baseball, when I think of Omaha and the College World Series, you can't tell the story without the Ron Frazier's and the Jim Morrises and the Warren Morris home run that beats Miami. I mean, you can't tell the story. And it has been very limited that they've been back here in Omaha. And quietly, they're still playing. I mean, the game completely flew under the radar last night because everybody's watching Little Rock potentially knocking off LSU. Yeah. And by the way, on the road, Miami beat Southern Miss.
And that's
a very cool story.
That game was at 9 too, just later in the day, some people went to sleep or some people weren't on the East Coast, weren't just watching the game in general. But it wasn't that they just beat Southern Miss yesterday. They looked good while doing it.
What'd you like about them?
Pitching was good. I mean, like I said, they just controlled the game the entire time. I mean, they got out to a lead. They held that lead. Southern Miss, in the middle innings, they had the bases loaded and they were able to get out of that. They just controlled it.
Now, the other thing about last night's games wrapping up is, and by the way, sadness. Somebody sent me a picture. I guess in the shoes that Texas wears, they have a logo that says the University of Texas at Omaha.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't realize they have a satellite.
So they will not be here. You know what? I'm okay with that because a lot of schools that have aspirations to win a national championship in baseball, they have some reference to Omaha in their facility. That I've never seen somebody have their gear where it says the University of Texas at Omaha.
Oh, that Trev Alberts.
It's cocky, but they've been good enough to do it,
UTO? UTO? Do we have a new? Are they gonna
No, they don't go by UTO anymore. It's just Texas.
They just sold them.
No.
They're just Omaha.
But with the regionals coming to an end last night, squeeze play, shut her down.
Yeah.
Why don't they do? And it's again, they didn't get. Last year they had chaos in late games. This year we had chaos in brackets. So they didn't get going from game to game where you get final at bats. You got a lot of drama. You got a lot of drama yesterday from the dugouts. Is Why can't they move? Because everybody, we were talking about this yesterday. When it comes to the sport of college baseball, predominantly around the country, except if you're in the South, you don't really start paying attention to college baseball until your college basketball season is over, or this weekend, and you're like, "Whoa, what a great sport, and what a great deal they do on ESPN with Squeeze Play." How come they can't move up Squeeze Play a week and start with the conference championship tournament games?
I was thinking, watching it yesterday, I wouldn't mind it if they did a special Squeeze Play weekend or like just day in the middle of the regular season to promote college baseball. Like if they're like, hey,
maybe save it for the I wouldn't want midweek games.
No. I'd be like on a Friday or on like where there's maybe a dead time in sports where we don't have a big thing going on in ESPN on a Friday. Hey guys, we're going to have 9 SEC games. They're all going on at the same time. We're going to do Squeeze Play. We're going to move around these cameras and do this and that to like promote SEC baseball in the middle of the season heading into the World Series. I would like that a lot. I would also too, absolutely. I think it's a slam dunk to do it during conference play as well.
The other part is Flaky Jake has already chimed in that the SEC flopped again. Now they might get 3 here, and we might get our Dave Van Horn. I am all on the Dave Van Horn train. Do not let me down against Tennessee. North Carolina, Arkansas would be a really good championship series. Sure. But while the SEC flopped and they get trolled, if you saw Murray State's picture on the field in Oxford.
I did not know.
Their team picture, and it says it just means more. How brilliant is Greg Sankey? Greg Sankey is brilliant because they have a brand that has had success, like really, really good success. You can't deny that.
Sure.
But they have also created a brand where it does mean more when you beat a team from the SEC. They have created the hate from a conference, and it doesn't matter if you're Vanderbilt or Alabama. When you beat an SEC team,
you're a locker room
it
game.
Just means more. So all I could think about, Murray State is winning, and we're like, oh, you know how this is going to end. Ole Miss is going to get a walk-off, or they had runners in scoring position in the 8th, and they got some help from a home plate umpire who I then think drove over to Baton Rouge and worked the 9th inning of the Little Rock LSU game. But eventually I do believe we're going to get to the SEC Big Ten football challenge.
Sure.
Think about the juice from the Big Ten side about beating an SEC football team in a game that is built up and it matters, and you can't go, well, that's the regular season. Let's talk about the postseason. Sankey is brilliant. He's built a brand of schools and a league where people get jacked to play against you. It rises your level of your commitment, what you have to do in your conference, because everybody's out to get you because they look at you as the big dog. And then when you flop, people make fun of you. But it's a big deal to beat an SEC school, and Sankey deserves a lot of credit for that.
We took the victory lap for the Big Ten because of the football season, but you can't deny the fact that the SEC is just kind of the better sport conference right now, and probably the best sport conference in the country.
Sport?
Well, basketball, they were dominant this year. Baseball, they were great this year. Football, while they weren't at the top of the heap, they definitely they weren't 1, but they were 2. I couldn't speak in terms of definitely not wrestling or volleyball.
Like Big Ten has wrestling.
Yeah.
SEC has women's gymnastics. That would be kind of a
Is
trade-off.
SEC, they're pretty good at track too. Like I know that Florida,
LSU and Arkansas have been good in the past.
Yeah.
I think Florida might sneak in there.
But in terms of the big three male sports right now, I mean, while they are not the top football conference, what Greg Sankey and then his other commissioners through those singular sports have been able to do, they got 13 bids in the NCAA tournament for baseball and 14 bids in the NCAA tournament for basketball. That's got to be some sort of record in terms of 27 bids across those two sports.
But it's football. But football is the only thing that matters, right? When you compare the Big Ten and the SEC,
I wouldn't say so. I wouldn't say it's the only thing that matters. I think it for sure matters the most. I think when we're all having the conversation of who's if the Big Ten is marginally better at football than the SEC, that means
we don't care
that
Florida won the national championship in basketball, right?
But
Big
I think
the Big Ten has won 2 straight football championships. Basketball. So what? Don't tell us anymore that it's been 25 years since the Big Ten has won a basketball. tell us how many days it's been since Ohio State won the national championship against Notre Dame.
I do think it matters, though, that the SEC got exponentially more bids in basketball for the NCAA tournament than the Big Ten, because the Big Ten has, in a way, propped themselves over the last 10 years as a basketball conference in terms of like they want to be at the top of basketball and a lot of, I mean, look, there are multiple schools we look at in the Big Ten that are basketball.
I think
schools.
the best thing the Big Ten did is they went all in on their commitment on football.
I'm not saying that the Big Ten.
I mean, they don't ignore basketball.
No, not at all.
But I think they have gone more in on football, and rightfully so.
That's why they where they are.
I'm not giving each school $50+ million a year because Fred Hoiberg's doing a hell of a job. I'm doing it because Matt Rule's your football coach, and you got 90,000 people that go to your game. I think that's been the change. And I also, by the way, say thank you to Urban Meyer.
I agree with all of that, and I agree that Big Ten making themselves the best football conference possible is definitely the best for the conference in the future. At the same time, there are more schools in the Big Ten that would establish themselves as quote unquote basketball schools, and yet the SEC as a conference in whole ended up getting more bids this year in basketball in the NCAA tournament. That matters, in my opinion. And then I'm just saying, if we look across all three of those big sports, the SEC has established themselves as the best overall sport conference.
Yeah, that's fine. They can hang the banner, and that's fine.
Yeah, I think they would hang the banner. I think they would be happy about that. I think they would be.
But if you were on the other side, would you get excited about that?
The SEC?
No, if you were the SEC was a football dominant conference. The Big Ten was not winning national championships,
but they were setting records in baseball and basketball.
And baseball would be difficult, but like men's basketball. So let's just flip. And the Big Ten has the abundance of basketball championships. I think it means more to the Big Ten to win a football championship than a men's basketball championship.
It absolutely
And I think
does.
the same thing is at the SEC and the ACC and the Big 12.
But if we're talking about the overall conference routing and pitting one conference up against another conference and what conference is better, we definitely have to account for the fact that the SEC has been able to be dominant across multiple sports, as opposed to the Big Ten just being able to be, better, not that much better, but still better at football. I agree with you, though. I think every conference would prefer to be the best football conference, and that's what the Big Ten has established themselves doing. But I give a ton of credit to the SEC and for investing in those other sports and dominating at those other sports.
Bigger deal to beat the SEC or to be like UTSA and beat a team that is full of NIL money. Now that NIL money happens to be a SEC team, but did you catch the comments from the Texas San Antonio head coach after the game?
No.
He was basically saying, we just beat a $900,000 pitcher. So are you going to do a victory lap of beating the SEC or of little old Jane and Joe's school beating the NIL monster?
The SEC. I would take the SEC because those names matter. Like those SEC names matter a little bit more, right? I don't think everyone necessarily knows who's spending the most amount of money, right? But if you beat an Arkansas that has a number 2 against the name, you're like, oh, that's a big freaking deal. That's a big freaking deal.
But then you cheer because also last night there was great softball and drama in Oklahoma City. And I think one of the more likable dynasties is taking a hit. They'll be back. But Oklahoma will not be chasing another national championship in softball. I think very likable dynasty. Dynasties grow up, and by about year 3 or so, you hate them.
Yeah.
But I think Oklahoma's softball dynasty, because it has been fantastic for the growth of the sport, they've been very likable. But on the side of the NIL, and we get an incredible game last night where Oklahoma's down 2-0, 2 out, final strike. They got the number 9 hitter up who's had 2 home runs all year. They had a 2-run homer to tie the game. And then in the bottom of the 7th, Texas Tech walks it off. But what is the story coming out of Oklahoma City about Texas Tech?
How much they paid their star pitcher in NIL.
And I think, we should
get used to it. Yep.
Hey, that's a celebration of the NIL.
Yep.
That you paid a pitcher $1 million because prior to this year, and Texas Tech has got so much money. They might have as much money as God.
How are they not cheating better back in the day? SMU, they should have been doing what SMU was doing.
Truly.
They should have had a Pat Mahomes every 2 years.
Yeah, yes. Texas Tech cheating when you had to go under the table, they should have been better at. But now that it's all out front,
hell yeah,
there seem to be more successful.
Oil.
We need to get a book about it. Just we need to label it SEC, how to be good at cheating, or just how to be good at cheating in college football. Like I need.
Are you familiar with the Southwest Conference?
Yes, I
should have
am.
worn my shirt today.
So you know what happened in the Southwest Conference?
No, I don't.
Oh,
well, yeah, that basically that was the wild west.
They
before
crawled
the wild,
so
wild
the
west.
SEC could walk.
Yeah.
So I mean, you know a couple of the things in the Southwest Conference.
I know the Southwest Conference. I don't know any really of the stories.
Yeah, that's basically why the Southwest Conference broke up.
Because
it was just cheating after cheating.
They're like the pioneers of this
time.
But
before Texas Tech had accomplished what they're about to do and play Texas for the softball championship,
on Raycom,
they had never won a conference title. They had never been to the national championship series. They went out and paid $1 million to a pitcher from Stanford. And by the way, she's got a great story. She has a torn hamstring. They said last night on the broadcast that she has not had a bullpen session in 12 weeks. But that is where we celebrate, go out and pay money because look what it does for you instead of going, oh, geez, they're just buying a championship. Maybe it's a little bit different in women's sports that we celebrate a pitcher getting paid $1 million, where in men's sports, we're like, you're just buying a championship. Texas is just buying a championship.
Well, we
should celebrate the Florida Marlins more
because softball is unique in the fact that you can really pay one player, and it is a massive deal, and they could help carry you to that. Where it's like, I think with football, you got to pay 15 players that massive amount of money. That I think it's
Red Raiders
to
are coming.
Get mad.
Are we angry or jealous when it comes to NIL and
jealous?
Yeah,
I'm with you. I was applauding.
Essentially, Nebraska paid their pitcher $1 million to get them to Super, right?
Yeah. No, it's the same deal.
And if we can say, oh, such and such Big Ten school just bought a left tackle.
Hey,
Isaiah World comes here, and you're like, man, I'm glad Nebraska spent $1.6 million to get him. Let's go. It's a really weird dynamic in the discussion about men's sports compared to women's sports when it comes to NIL.
Is it because there's not as much interest in female sports as there is male sports?
Possibly.
That maybe we don't have as much stakes in female sports right now. We definitely don't have as much stakes in female sports right now as we do in male sports. But I do think, though, that as we have these new stories and we pay more attention to female sports and we have more fans of female sports, we get more stakes.
Yeah.
Right? We get more emotional with it. We get more angry when we lose because we become bigger fans. And then when that happens, then the NIL does start to matter, maybe, potentially.
All right, coming up on the show, Sam McEwen from the World Herald will join us in less than an hour. Busy week in Lincoln with the Battle of the Boneyard coming up on Friday. You can go and you get a T-shirt and a hot dog.
Ooh, a hot dog.
They've gone all in. They are all in on what could happen on Friday, but you never know who's going to show up. So Sam will join us coming up at 7:30. Brian Christopherson stops by at 9. That's the lineup brought to you by the rooferees at John Higgins Weather Guard. 16 are set. 8 will come to Omaha. How many will be out of the SEC? What if there's just one, and it's Dave Van Horn?
Well, that would be nice.
Let's go, Omahogs.
If he was the only
one,
that'd be nice. If it was only one, though, and it was just LSU, or if it was just like Tennessee, happy they're here, right? Very ecstatic that they're here, but you're like, damn, could there not be more? Could we not have gotten 3?
Yeah. Also, college baseball has coaches just crashing, doing things that either are on brand or a little off brand.
It's like we've had 6 coaches like call each other out.
Yeah. All right, we're off and running on a rainy Tuesday here in the Big O. Glad to have you in, Gary and Matt and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone. Oh, big news locally. The World Herald reporting this morning that Roger Dixon, the one and only president of Mecca, Mr. Mecca, that controls the facilities and brings events in and all those good things, is going to retire this year at the age of 74. So all of the incredible stuff that Roger Dixon has done with Mecca, and people have opinions on Mecca, the way they run things, but you cannot deny that Roger Dixon has changed how Omaha is viewed from the sports and convention and all the other stuff with the swim trials and their relationship with Creighton for the NCAA tournaments and, of course, the College World Series. That's a big, big local news that Roger Dixon, at the age of 74, and enjoy it, is going to retire at the end of the year. So that'll be kind of interesting because if you're looking at extensions, like whether it be the Big Ten baseball tournament or the College World Series being in Omaha, Omaha will have somebody new at Mecca, and they will also have a new mayor.
Yeah,
which
that is a good point.
Which experiences everything. But congratulations to Roger, and enjoy the retirement. While we're staying with local, I do want to point something out, and some really good news today. So, Jimmy, that's going to cheer you up. So I'm watching KATV. Okay, our good friends at KATV, and people will be glad to know that the morning show has been together now for 3 straight days.
How about that?
Yeah, Jack and Melissa have been there. Now, Sean is away because him and his wife just added a new child to their wonderful family.
Congratulations.
But I'm watching, and this was first tweeted out. It was delivered by one of their viewers to Melissa Fry. And I don't know this individual, and if somebody is listening, please tell him that this is a cool deal. So there's a FedEx driver here in Omaha. And do you know 90th and Dodge?
Like, I've been there.
Okay.
I've been over there.
Just to I want to make sure that was a road that you've driven on.
I've driven on there.
Okay.
I don't know anything around there, but I know that I've been past 90th and Dodge.
So this is a really, really cool story that KATV has shared, and they actually did a story on it. So there was an individual that I believe that I have seen at that intersection, either waiting for the bus or they must live in that area, but they are in a wheelchair. And so the story goes like this, and this is your bit on a gloomy, rainy Tuesday morning. A FedEx driver by the name of Javon Hall, after he got done with his deliveries, pulled his FedEx truck over and helped this person across the street there, because it's a little bit of a tricky intersection. During the winter, people get stuck.
Sure.
So if you're trying to manage that intersection, which is extremely busy in a wheelchair, yes.
Yeah, I mean,
and so Javon Hall is the gentleman's name, FedEx driver here in Omaha, helped this individual cross the street. And I thought that was really, really cool. I rewound the story on the old DVR, and I wrote down the name. So kudos to Mr. Hall for what he did, and for KATV sharing the story.
Good people doing good things. We need more of that. We just need more.
That would be the title for it.
We just need more wholesome in this world. We like every time I turn on the news or every time I turn on sports, it's all like everything's falling apart, everything is bad, everything is terrible, everything is more expensive.
That's called football season.
Well, during football season, all of that is going on. We just get to talk about
what proof do you
football.
have that prices go up for football season? You think they're raking the fans?
Why not?
All of a sudden, my hot dogs and my hamburgers and my beer goes up?
Chips, that's where they get you. $6.50, half bag of air.
$6.50 for potato chips.
I've never $6.50.
Whoa. Yeah. You got to stay away from Trader Joe's, man. Hey, go there. Just go down Pacific to 72nd. There's a Walmart there, okay? A little bit cheaper.
A bag of Doritos.
But if you go to your favorite grocery store and they have magazines, the magazines made an appearance all throughout Omaha yesterday. College football.
Good timing.
Will be here before you know it. Phil Steele's magazine is 3 days away from going to press. Dylan Raiola is on the Midwest cover.
Hell yeah.
But so Lindy's and Athlon got delivered all over Omaha yesterday, if you are wondering. Now, the two that I probably frequent the most, Brett Ciancia let me know the other day, the Pick 6 preview is just moving right along.
Good.
Usual delivery date in July. July 4th, Phil Steele's magazine will be out. But curious, on the cover of Athlon, and which one used to, you may not know this,
I don't
Jimmy,
know.
which one used to have like the cheerleader section? Does that even exist anymore?
No way.
I don't believe so.
Was that Lindy's?
I thought it was Playboy.
I got Lindy's right here. No. But
what's
Playboy,
because they had girls of the Big Eight and
no. Before that, they would have actually good college football editions.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding.
No.
Playboy,
Yeah, I know what you
Playboy
mean.
had like good college football.
They actually
editions.
had good writers.
No, they had the All-American team.
Yeah,
That was a big deal.
Yeah, the Bob Hope All-American team. Go back, youngin.
Yeah.
Go back and look at the 95 Bob Hope All-American team, which Tommy Frazier in their
Pretty darn
special
good.
has a speaking line. It is that talent in 95 is pretty impressive. But no, you're right. Playboy.
Oh, I've seen that.
Yeah.
with Ray Lewis in there.
Yes.
Yeah. That's
Incredible.
That's
that
incredible.
95
Yeah.
All-American team.
That's popped up on Twitter the other day.
Yeah,
it was great.
Wholesome content again.
But Playboy, honestly, they did have like a good college football section, and they would bring players out to the Playboy Mansion in California to do a photo shoot, and it was a legit issue if you followed college football. It's just sometimes you had to go and stop at some pages to get to the actual college football content. I don't think they do that anymore.
I don't think so either.
Does Playboy even exist?
I don't think Playboy even exists
You
anymore.
would know. Come on.
I think Sports Illustrated Swimsuit Edition is probably taken over in terms of that, in terms of your Playboy, Phil.
Hello, Livy Dunn. Well, hey, did you see what she did on the runway? Just all of a sudden did the splits?
Incredible.
And popped right back up?
It was great.
I'd be done for about 6 weeks. Let's be honest.
I was done for 6 weeks watching it.
I'd be done for like 6 months.
Be back at that clinic.
But
shout out, guys.
Is it only online now? Asking for a friend.
I don't think it is.
I believe
there's
so.
no way.
Everything's online.
There's no way it's
But it
only
does,
online.
like the physical copy does not exist, right?
Do they do calendars anymore?
Excuse me?
Like Sports Illustrated Swimsuit Edition
Like
calendars?
at the book fair?
I don't know that. I guess I've never pursued a Sports Illustrated swimsuit calendar. I'm a Sports Illustrated subscriber. I actually still
that's incredible.
Get the physical copy. Well, because I've got them down to like $39 a year.
I'm technically an employee of Sports Illustrated.
Okay.
I actually do often forget that.
I don't think I have. I got to talk to my mailman. I got to talk to my mailman Todd. Where is my swimsuit issue? I've gotten the digital copy in my email. Where is the physical?
You know
one?
what? I am actually going to take a trip to Barnes and Noble today. And I do have hopefully my Barnes & Noble membership transfers from state to state so I can cash in on my rewards. I will let you know. I will do some.
That was said like an
I will
ad.
do some scouting around Barnes & Noble today.
So Brandon says it was Athlon that had the cheerleader section.
That would have been
What's
my
the
guess.
cheerleader section? They would just have a picture of all the cheerleaders?
They would highlight cheerleaders from around the country. Mm-hmm. Like it was just very odd. You'd be, scrolling through team previews and conference previews, and then right in smack dab in the middle of the magazine, they'd have like an 8-pager on cheerleaders.
A breakdown.
I kind of
love that.
It didn't
I love
seem to
that.
fit.
No, it doesn't, which is why I love it.
Back when the WAC were the 11 o'clock game on ESPN.
So the Athlon cover, which has Drew Aller, Dylan Raiola, Jeremiah Smith, and would you like to guess the fourth on the cover of Athlon? By the way,
Big Ten.
Athlon has completely changed their paper and their cover.
Big Ten or
it's
SEC?
not a glossy. No, these are all Big Ten guys. Jeremiah Smith, Dylan Raiola, Drew Aller.
I would have said Caleb Downs, but I don't think they'll go 2 Ohio State guys.
This might surprise some people. Are you
I'll-
ready? For
I'll
the
go.
unveil,
I'll
if
go.
you
Is
haven't
it
seen the
quarterback?
Athlon?
Quarterback or running
No,
back?
defensive. It's the only defensive player on the cover of Athlon Sports Regional here in the Midwest.
I do not know.
Ready?
Yeah.
Who is that guy?
Ernest Hausman.
Yep.
Nice.
How about that? Did you ever?
Wow.
You ever think that Ernest Hausman, former Nebraska Cornhusker, pride of Columbus, would be on the cover
Full
of
circle.
Athlon Sports? Yeah, it's full circle. He's on the cover
Good
with a Nebraska
for
player
him.
wearing Michigan gear, and will be back in Memorial Stadium playing again against Nebraska
At
this
2:30.
upcoming year.
That probably about 84 and sunny that day.
Doesn't bode like great for like the optics for. I mean, it bodes fine for the optics of Nebraska. Like transfers are going to happen, but at the same time, it definitely does sting a little bit that you had a guy from the state who came here, played his freshman year, who you thought was going to be really good, end up on a cover of a sports magazine for another team. Welcome to the NIL era.
He's a good player.
He is a good player.
I think it was probably good for both sides that after 1 year he moved on, and once Scott Frost was fired, he was not going to stay.
It's good for him. Really is good for him. Be uncovered like that.
All right, Sam McEwen's coming up at 7:30 with thoughts galore on the least hyped offseason in Nebraska football history, yay or nay. When we come back, the College Football Hall of Fame, y'all got to get your stuff together. Last week it was we put in the Mike Leach rule, and now you've opened up a can of worms. Now you've done something yesterday that, come on. I want to love you long time, but I got a question for you all down there in Atlanta. We'll get into that when we come back. It's Gary and Matt on 1620 The Zone. You know the backstory of Hausman?
I Hey, the Gary and Matt Show is brought to you by AGR Roofing and Construction, serving the Omaha and Des Moines area for the last 20 plus years. You can call now at 402-639-1218.
All right, Sam McEwen's going to join us here in about 30 minutes. Is the QR code back? Is the QR code making a return, or did it ever go away?
It never went away. I don't think it ever really.
I thought it's just gotten stronger.
Yeah,
I mean, it can take you outside, take you inside, post you up, distribute. Just every way, 3 and D.
I don't mean to be the Mr. I have a take on everything, but I do actually have a strong opinion. I do actually have the strong opinion. I do not like the QR codes at restaurants. Okay, especially when you have a crappy phone like mine and the internet isn't always working, and your cell service in certain spots is definitely questionable.
I think it's a great take.
It is pouring outside. Can you hear that?
That's what that is.
Yeah.
I thought it was a herd of buffalo.
Give me a paper menu. Just give me a paper menu. I don't know why we had to complicate things. I just want it in front of me. Just let me look at it. Let me order.
I'm with him.
So why
Old soul?
So back to squeeze play. They've been promoting, and they talk about squeeze play during the regionals. They put up the QR code in the corner of your screen, and like how many people just pull out their phone and scan it on your TV, like at home or in a bar? But here's why I'm wondering if the QR code is making a comeback. I was doing the PA for the Big Ten baseball tournament, and there are like 3 different reads where they ask people to scan the QR code on the video board in right field. Now, one of them turns your phone like live, and they take video from it. It's actually really, really cool.
Okay.
So it's like a live selfie of a fan. Once you scan that QR code, that's what your phone becomes. I don't know if they'll have it for the College World Series, but it's kind of cool for the Big Ten. But it's like, like Omaha baseball does the same thing. It's like scan the QR code on the video board, which is 420 feet away. I'm
too lazy.
I can't recall this amount. Like initially there was like the QR code was like, oh my God, we were creating QR codes. And then it seemed like they went away for a while. They were still there, but they went away for a while. Now I don't know, like the last month, I'm like, I got QR codes everywhere. I go into a business. They got a QR code on the wall. Get a discount. Join our club. I'm like, the QR code is now back.
I've seen people with QR codes on their T-shirts.
You have to be careful about that.
Well, so
there's people that go to the airports.
Okay.
And to promote their business.
Yeah.
They will have a QR code, and sometimes it's a scam. Sometimes it's a great promotional thing.
I think it's genius. Whether it be
to be scammed?
No.
Oh.
Whether it be,
I've seen that movie.
If you're doing it for, if you're doing it for anything, like whether you're doing it to promote, whether you're doing it to scam, or whether you're doing it to like meme somebody, like can you imagine if you just had a QR code and it sent you to a link that was just like a funny picture? Like I think it's just because if I see a guy,
so part of what you're saying, there is a story of somebody that went to like a rally and they had a QR code on their back, and that's
I think I know what picture, probably
NSFW picture.
I think the San Francisco Chronicles was the link. I think that's so, because if I see a QR code on the board, I don't know how likely I am to scan it unless it really interests me. But if I see a QR code on a guy's back or a woman's back, there is no doubt that I am scanning it. There is zero doubt because I am so interested.
So what are the chances that there'll be a local business, or there's a lot of national companies that are coming down for the College World Series, that we will have scan my body QR code?
I think that would be so smart.
You like that commercial where they're selling naming rights of children to businesses. People laugh now, but times are getting tough. You're gonna see that happen.
Have you seen that commercial though?
That is not
Have you
true.
seen that
In fact,
commercial?
I'm kind of thinking about
selling naming rights to your kid.
Have you seen that commercial?
I've seen the commercial,
It's
but that
so
is
funny.
not happening.
I don't know, man.
I mean,
you should not be allowed to have sex.
I might.
If you're going to do that,
I might name my kid Hawk Auto. Drive with Kane and Taze drives. McMaster.
and then you rake in the dough.
Exactly. That might be my kid's name.
Dad, why do we always go on a great vacation every year? Well, son, let me tell you why.
Dad, why do we have so many lemon heads? We're sponsored by this team called the Blackhawks, honey.
This actually, with it pouring here in Omaha, this actually might be a really good day for NRG Media.
Why do you say that?
That sign is done.
Yeah. No, it's over.
That sign was working. That sign was working yesterday.
Was it?
Yeah.
Last week it was off. So did it come back on yesterday?
Well, I thought I drove by.
Okay. It was off
the
last
other day,
week.
and like it combines a couple of stations. You never know what's up there.
I'm not falling for that.
We never.
That thing's going to live on.
We're coming up on the anniversary of the drunk driver that almost took out that sign. We're now about 3 years ago during the College World Series when nobody was around. Somebody was driving down Dodge, got a little like
Rich Hill,
and almost
that's what
took it
that
out.
sign is like.
I'm
Still going to perform.
It's a great thing. It's right here where all the traffic goes by, but it has not worked properly for a while. And to update it, it's like on a computer from 1998, but it's off, and it might be done. We might have to get a new board.
It looks a little bit like there's a lot of water going west on Dodge right now.
Yeah, it's pouring outside.
What, Saddle Creek? That should be
it's a great day to fish.
Hey, go home. Just stay home.
Who's doing traffic today?
I think it's the Peter man.
Okay. You don't need to wait to get to Peter. Okay. First of all, Peter, tell me, when the hell is 72nd and 80 going to open? I thought it was supposed to be yesterday. It's still not. And now I'm here in 2 weeks. Let's go, because it causes a problem with where I like to go. But I'm going to tell you, before Peter gets here and tells you about the traffic, because it's pouring here in Omaha, Saddle Creek is a river right now. Yeah, I don't even just say Saddle Creek. Yeah. If he doesn't say Saddle Creek on the traffic report, he's not doing it right.
Can you imagine if he just goes, Saddle Creek, you know what's going on?
That's what he should, because if you know, you know.
Yep.
It rains like this, Saddle Creek, and there'll be somebody that'll be like, I can make it through. And next thing you know, our great friends, first responders, will have to go out there and fish somebody out of their car. So I would avoid Saddle Creek right now.
Yeah, it's Saddle Creek again.
Saddle Creek, IKYK. I'm Peter Krenzer.
Yesterday, the College Football Hall of Fame announced the class that could go in the next go around of the College Football Hall of Fame. So last week they pulled this thing where they have to lower it to get Mike Leach in, and thank you for doing that. But Mike Leach should have been on his own merit, because of what he has done for the game. And they've got all these restrictions, whether you have to be a coach at a certain age and you can't be currently in professional, or you have to be out of college 10 years and you can't be going into the College Football Hall of Fame. If you're still playing in the pros, you have to be retired. I guess Ndamukong Suh now is officially, in the eyes of the College Football Hall of Fame, retired. But they have so many friggin' restrictions that, like, you think about Ndamukong Suh's last college game was 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay. So you have to be out 10 years. You have to be out 10 years. Not the 5 that a lot of Hall of Fames have, but you got to be out 10 years. And then you have to be retired from the pros. Okay. It's to read the restrictions that they have to get on the ballot is mind-boggling. And let's be better. Let's do it for the good of the game. It's a great place to go to in Atlanta, but there's so many things okay, why couldn't Mike Leach be in? Why can't Howard Schnellenberger be in? Why do you have to be at least 70 years of age before? What does that mean? But beside the point, Suh is going in. But the list of players that were mentioned yesterday, you could make a case
for a lot of them.
For nearly all of them.
They're incredible.
Maybe I would leave like a Kellen Moore off this year.
But even, maybe this year, but like in the future.
Oh, definitely, because of what he did at Boise State.
Yeah.
But I mean, you could start and you could go, Cam Newton, yes. RG3, yes. Mark Ingram, yes. James Laurinaitis, yes. Manti Te'o, yes. Ndamukong Suh, yes. I mean, it's a banger of a list. So Suh is going in, and rightfully so. Now, we can get to this a little bit later in the show. There's a couple of coaches on there that, like, there's a debate of, are they really Hall of Fame worthy? But whenever we get to talk about Ndamukong Suh, we get to talk about what I still believe is the greatest individual season ever in the history of Nebraska football, in the year in which a defensive tackle at the University of Nebraska, that position, had 85 tackles, 24 tackles for loss, 12 sacks. He had 26 quarterback hurries. And what might be more impressive than the 85 tackles as a defensive tackle, he blocked 3 kicks. That was his season, his last season at Nebraska, which to me is the greatest individual season ever in the history of Nebraska football.
I don't like that he's going in with this class.
Why?
Because I don't think he's going to get the respect he properly deserves. I don't think that. I think that Ndamukong Suh
wouldn't ball fans
should be the headline.
Be more knowledgeable though.
Incredible amount of people going in.
The fact, Jimmy, that I know, because we know how this is going to happen. The national media is going to cover Cam Newton going in. They're going to cover RG3 going in. Those are going to be the 2 headlines on the ticker, and then it's going to be and Ndamukong Suh.
Will Ryan Clark give the acceptance, the introduction for RG3?
I probably. Can you imagine how petty that would be if RG3 asked him? He should ask him on Twitter. Hey, Ryan, let's put water under the bridge. Would you like to induct me into the College Football Hall of Fame?
I think Suh stands out amongst that group.
I think so, too.
I think Suh is still fascinating to the people that cover college football.
I get what Matt's saying,
what he did in that particular season.
Are we talking about college football ball knowers, or are we talking about national media? Because if we're talking about people who are college football
people that cover
guys,
the sport,
people who cover the sport, he will get his property. We will see all those stats.
Does it matter? I mean, you're in the College Football Hall of Fame. I mean, it's not like all of a sudden you're going to change your stats. So you just happen to be going in with an incredible class. Like, I don't think George Brett was like, damn, Nolan Ryan, why are you going in on the same weekend as me? Robin Yount, who probably would have had more of a case to go, really?
No, exactly.
But
that's the point. That's what I'm saying. I want when ESPN and when Fox Sports talk about the College Football Hall of Fame this year, the first two people that they're going to be talking about are Cam Newton and RG3. And it's nothing against those guys. And I'm not saying that they don't deserve
it. Now,
it.
ESPN might not be talking about RG3 just because they fired him.
Yeah. It's a good point. But I still think it still holds true with like Ndamukong Suh. I don't like that he's going in with this class. I would have liked if he'd gone in as the top guy, the top guy that's going to get the most attention on his own, so we could properly pay respect and properly say, and everyone gets to know the fact that he should have won the Heisman. But instead, we're going to be like, Cam Newton had one of the single greatest seasons of all time, and RG3 in his Heisman season was super, super electric. Oh, and there's this defensive lineman who was really, really great.
See, I disagree. I think if you listen to national media talk, they are fascinated by Suh and the mystery of Suh, post-career, what he did in the NFL. But his single year, there were so many people that went to bat for him. No, I think they will look at it as a whole and go, this might be one of the greatest classes to go in together, and we're not choosing, oh, hey, you're not going to get the attention. I think to this day, again, I think Suh, because of his brilliance and his size and his mystery of what is he up to, how he's such a bright person.
Sure.
I think college football people are still very, very interested and still tell the story of Suh. I don't think people Hall of Fame pick their favorites. Like, you might have covered somebody and go like, hey man, I know Suh a lot better. But I don't of all people, I don't think Suh goes, oh man, I'm not going to.
Oh, I don't think he's going
waltz into
like
the room
that.
as look like a guy that could go out and play some more snaps for you.
But I definitely would have preferred if he didn't go in with Cam Newton and didn't go in with RG3, and we just we put all the attention on him, and we focused on him and gave him
he fits in
the respect
perfectly with them. That's a hell of a team.
But it's not necessarily. I'm just talking about attention, guys. I know what you mean, talking, and that's all I'm talking about. And I'm not talking about.
Another thing, though, you have to take in mind here is the College Football Hall of Fame nationally doesn't get a lot of run.
Sure,
the induction. You know, it's released yesterday, and we look at the names. We go, "Oh man, remember that night in Columbia when '93 wrecked the Mizzou football program,
raining like this."
So it doesn't. It's nowhere near the attention of the professional Hall of Fames. But back to Suh's individual year, I can only think of one that would be in the discussion. You have one when you would match up against the greatest single season ever for a Nebraska football player, 2010, and Ndamukong Suh. That's my choice.
The greatest,
but there's only one that comes close in my opinion.
Rozier, 83.
Yep.
Yeah,
absolutely. He and that's so 2,148 yards, I think, is what he ran for. He had 29 touchdowns in his Heisman Trophy year. Now, that single season by Rozier in 83, it's still, Amon Green had an incredible 97. Amon had 22 touchdowns.
Yeah.
But he was still 271 yards behind Rozier in single season rushing. So Suh, Rozier would be my 1 and 2. And then it becomes kind of a fun little discussion about who would be third of the greatest individual season by a Nebraska football player behind Suh and Rozier.
Crouch 01. And then Frazier, 95, probably would be the two. And then I love Amir, but I don't know if Amir. Would you say that Amir would stack up amongst those two guys in terms of single season?
No, because I got some guys that are ahead of him.
Okay.
So Crouch is 2001.
So 2000
carried the ball 203 times. I mean,
brought him back.
He also
Colorado by himself.
so yes, he carried the ball 203 times. He also carried a football program on his back.
Yeah.
For 1,000 yards rushing and 1,500 plus yards passing. Was Trey Palmer's season in 2022 when he went for 1K plus 43 in receiving yards.
No joke. I was talking about Trey Palmer in that Purdue game yesterday with somebody, and just how
F it.
That was one of
Trey is down there somewhere.
That was one of the greatest wide receiver performances that I've watched live before. You know, in terms of just, all right, Trey's going to run down the field. It's going to be launched up. He's going to catch it. He's going to go to the end zone. I would say, I would say that it's up there. And in terms of the fact, too, that that team, in terms of weapons that year, did not have a ton to offer, right? They just didn't. They were banged up early on. And then Marcus Washington wasn't really a fact. They just didn't have that true second wide receiver next to him that was contributing. And then they went through, Casey Thompson gets hurt and they go through those quarterback troubles, and yet he's still able to put up the statistics he put up. I think it stacks up there. It's definitely one of the greatest probably the greatest wide receiver season.
And it'll age better with each year that goes on, especially with what he does as a professional.
Taylor Martinez in 2012.
I wondered if that would be one.
Nearly 3,900 yards of total offense.
That'd be more total yards of offense than Crouch. How many touchdowns did he have that year? Because I think that with Crouch, because he did so much for that team and they had a lot of success, up until the end of the year, that we go, oh, that was a great season. But from a statistical standpoint, it definitely isn't the most gaudy, because he still threw 10 interceptions that year. Martinez in 2012, 2,800 yards, 23 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. That's passing. Rushing in 2012, he had 1,000 yards with 10 touchdowns.
Adam throws Zach Taylor's Big 10 or Big 12 run in there as well in 2006, which those were gaudy numbers and for what they did with that team. I'll give you a couple of others. So to be fair to the defensive side, Jim Scow, 1985. 25 tackles for losses. 15 of those were sacks. I'll give you two more.
Sure.
People, I don't know, and the season didn't end with a national championship. I don't think Trev's 1993 season gets enough credit. Trev Alberts was unblockable in 1993. He ended up with 21 tackles for losses, 15 sacks in that season. And remember, he's playing with a bad wing and what he did against Charlie Ward in the Orange Bowl. But 93, you couldn't block Trev. Now, I'll give you another one.
That's what I still think of when you mention his name.
I'll give you another one, and this is going to make you go, God, I miss the good times.
Can I guess?
Sure.
Randy Gregory, 2013?
No.
Okay.
So this will make you go, man, back in the day, this was when it was real. And when we had a chance, when special teams mattered. Thank you, Mike Eckler. You have a solid branch on the trust tree in Lincoln for the 2025 season. He's my favorite super regional groundskeeper at Buck Belzer Field. He is also one of my favorite players that I've ever covered.
Oh, damn it. You've told me this before.
Recently was in studio. Pull up DeJuan Gross's 2002 season. Yes. So if you're just tuning in,
and I love
Sue's going to go into the College Football Hall of Fame, and Sue, we might see Sue around here a little bit more coming up into the fall.
Oh, that'd be great.
Then Rozier's year, and then it's kind of a hodgepodge of guys that had incredible single seasons that you could debate. But DeJuan Gross's 2002 season, would you like to recite those numbers?
2002 for Mr. DeJuan Gross. He returned 732 yards total, 17 yards of return per punt.
Yeah, these are punts.
Punts.
These are punt returns.
4 punt return touchdowns.
Yes. He had an 89-yard punt return. Not for, did that go for a touchdown against Troy? I think so. And then he also had an 80-plus yard punt return against Iowa State in the same year.
I remember
DeJuan
that
Gross's 2002 season. Now,
he played 4 years. He played 4 years in the NFL, by the way, which is super impressive for a specialist.
Loved him in St. Louis. So DeJuan's best year probably as a DB was 2000, but return in 2002, that just strictly his punt return numbers are mind-boggling.
Well,
that was, and we're now fast forward 23 years from now, and Nebraska, how long is it? So if we went back, here, you could do some research here.
Sure.
Go back. How long would you have to go back beginning last year to rack up 732 punt return yards? DeJuan Gross in 2002 had that in 1 year. That could also, that also needs to be in the discussion of one of the greatest single season accomplishments for a Nebraska football player.
I want to bring up this stat for you right here. In 2002, in October, they beat Missouri 24-13. He had 4 returns for 114 yards with 1 return touchdown, 28 yards per return. You could make the argument that literally won them the game. Like they won that game by 11 points, and then he had over 100 yards in return yards with a touchdown. Like, seriously, single-handedly. Like he just off of just being a specialist, he just won the game. We've missed that. We've missed that dearly, and it's actually gone the other way.
So
for
how
this
do you,
program in the last couple of years?
We'll get in this maybe with Sam here in a little bit about the addition of a punter who is just new to the U.S. Okay, this is going to be all new to him, and how that branch of the Mike Eckler trust tree is pretty strong. But making a difference and being a war of 1.5 or 2 when it comes to special teams, DeJuan Gross on a bad team in 2002 because they were saddled with bad uniforms home and away.
The main takeaway of that season.
If you are
always
to this day, if you are going to knock off a top 10 team and it happens to be number 7 Texas, you need something to happen in special teams. DeJuan Gross in that game, as people recall, before the Nathan Vasher interception of Jamal Lord, Jesus, just kick the field goal, Frank. Your defense forces Texas to punt, and then Texas, I have no idea what Mac Brown was doing, punts to DeJuan Gross, and he returns it 44 yards down to the 16-yard line. That is the power of DeJuan Gross. So I would put that definitely inside of the top 10, and maybe we move it up. His 2002 year, 732 punt return yards for DeJuan Gross.
Real quick, I'll do this. I'll go through the entire to see when we get to 700 yards. But how many punt return yards did Nebraska have last year?
114.
They had 73 punt return yards.
Yeah, DeJuan Gross says
they had
that in a game.
They had literally
do that in one return.
He did that in multiple games and multiple returns. They got.
I like those days, not the 02 season.
A combination of 3 different players got 10% of DeJuan Gross's return yards in one season.
Now people are chiming in. They want to share their memories of 2002. I don't know that I'm ready to go there because that hurt, because that interception by Vasher was right in front of me and the late Matt Kelly. I mean, literally, we said, no. We could see Vasher coming. And he caught the ball right in front of us, and then he threw up the hook 'em horns to the Nebraska fans. I thought Matt Kelly was going to punch him in the face. Matt was working for Channel 8. I thought he was going to drill him because it literally was right in front of us. But that was a game so we're talking single season. You could make a case that Jamal Lord had one of, and I know that second interception sticks out, kick the field goal. Jamal Lord ran for 234 yards in a game in which Chris Sims and Roy Williams played pitch and catch 419 yards passing for Chris Sims. Roy Williams had 161, and he was making catches out of his ass that night. All right, we're done with that. I don't need to see memories of 2002.
It was a cold night. No, they actually played well in the cold.
Ed immediately says, I hate that game with a passion. It's one of my least favorite games because I was sitting in the North Stadium and I could see DeJuan Gross about to house it. And then I'm like, we're going to overtime. Nebraska's going to pull off an upset.
This would actually be a really good, because I'm all about the 5-minute podcast. This would actually be a really good quick podcast for you to do. Let's just have you just go back to just in the early 2000s, into the 90s, into the 80s. Pick a game that frustrates you the most, and then just recant that.
I'll listen to this all day.
They were stopped twice. They were stopped twice in that game on 4th and 1, and then not all special teams just happened to be the current era of special teams. They had a field goal blocked. And then they had another bad snap on a field goal attempt in that game. And that was all in the first half. Also, the defense played really well that night because Texas had missed opportunities in that first half. It was a great football game. And
this is super impressive.
It might have been one of them. It might have been one of the, and I know there's been a lot of them, one of the wildest roller coasters of a game of a Nebraska football fan. The way that game unfolded, what was at stake, you were playing the number 7 team in the country, and you had a chance. Darren Diedrich goes into the end zone. Josh Brown kicks the PAT.
You're listening
all of a sudden, it's 27-24. You got to get a stop. That defense, which had been a sieve all year, gets a stop. God dang it.
Welcome to the Gary Gets Mad podcast, where Gary recants his favorite Nebraska football game.
But he took us there. I remember watching this.
And then
today, we'll be talking about the 2010 Big Ten Championship.
There's a difference between being 7-3 and when you walked out of that stadium that night being 6-4.
Alternate endings. Yeah.
3rd down.
Damn.
10 seconds left. Jamal Lord. And there's Nathan Vasher. All right. Sam McEwen's going to join us next on 1620 The Zone. All right, now for some good stuff. And it is pouring here in Omaha, and storms rolled through overnight, and you may be waking up and going, oh, boy, our roof took a beating. Our siding, our gutters took a beating. And what's the best way to figure out what do you do next? Contact immediately my good friends at Moose Roofing, longstanding roofing, siding, gutters company, over nearly 30 years here in the Omaha area, residential, commercial roofing, along with those siding and gutters. They just don't show up at your house and they put on a roof. No. It's a process that is very rewarding for you, and most importantly, you, because you're protecting your most valuable asset. But the MVPs of roofing in Omaha, Pat Moose, they are in it to win it. They have an extreme passion for what they do because they want you to be satisfied. Excellent staff, quality service. You'll consult with the folks from Moose Roofing. They'll look at your roof, your siding, your gutters. They'll assess the damage. They'll walk you through the process on what it's going to be like. They'll even work with your insurance company. They're the only company that has an entire department that is devoted to working with your insurance company. So all the questions that you have, they will have answers for you, and they will get to work. And once they're done, they'll never know that they were there, except for you will have a roof, siding, or gutters that you go, yes, that's what Moose Roofing is. So contact them today. They're here before the storm, during the storm, and after the storm, doing business from Western Iowa all the way to Lincoln for nearly 30 years. Go online right now, mooseroofing.com. All right, let's welcome in our good friend from the Omaha World Herald, Sam McEwen. Good morning, Sam.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. Let's talk some Ndamukong Suh. We were just talking about, I think his 2010 is the greatest individual season as a Husker. And then I would put Rozier in there. I threw out DeJuan Grosso too. But Suh in particular, which you've covered him and you've had a chance to talk to him. I think a lot of us would like to see him around a little bit more, but it was great last year to see him when he went into the Hall of Fame. Is there one pressing question that you would love to ask Ndamukong Suh if you got an opportunity, whether about his career at Nebraska or post-Nebraska career?
That's a great question. I think he's kind of an open book. Like, I think he's pretty honest with every question, that he gets. He's pretty he's open book, but he's pretty terse at the same time. Mm-hmm. Like, he doesn't necessarily give these 17-minute answers. So yeah, I think I probably would like to ask him, whether or not he feels like he's been fully, he feels, like he can come back here anytime. I think he does. Mm-hmm. Right. But obviously when Bo got let go, I think things kind of changed there. And I think rules probably repaired that really well. But, just like, does he feel like there's another level of support that he'd like to give Nebraska? Because this is a person who, I don't know how many, he's probably got $500 million, maybe $1 billion. He's got a lot of money.
He's a brilliant
not
person.
just football money. Mm-hmm. He's an incredible investor and a financial guy. So I think there's probably another level of support that he can provide. And I just wonder if he's been asked to, just directly asked to do that and what that might entail. He was teammates with Dominic Raiola for a while in Detroit. So, I would be curious to know that. But honestly, he's always been pretty honest, and I think he's been really supportive of Nebraska. He's always stood up for Nebraska, and not everybody always stands up for the college they went to, and he's always been real faithful in that way.
Amy Jessica, the Lincoln Journal-Star, you guys are same companies, right? Lincoln Journal-Star, Omaha World Herald, not the same, but connected.
No, yes, of course.
Yeah. Wrote. I had a wide-ranging interview with Troy Dannon and wrote 2 articles yesterday. And in one of the articles, Dannon alluded to, when it comes to rev share, investing in the sports that are performing at the best, right? That there is kind of a merit-based system. If you're winning and people have interest in your sport, you're going to get a bigger slice of the pie. How does that affect the dynamic between coaches in the athletic department?
I don't know that it's going to affect the dynamic too much, in part because it's a really collegial group. And, the discussion that Amy does a good job of kind of dialing in on it.
Sure.
The discussion we're having is not really about bowling versus baseball. It's about volleyball.
Yeah.
And how well you fund from a revenue sharing perspective, not NIL, because the volleyball players are able to get their own NIL deals they're pretty excellent. But from a revenue sharing perspective, how well do you fund volleyball, a sport that's probably not getting a lot of funding at other universities, versus baseball, which will? So and the word baseball isn't used in the story. I get it.
Yeah.
It's just the point is, that volleyball is going to be a priority at Nebraska, even if there's only 6 or 7 teams that are dedicating a lot of revenue sharing money to that team. So I think that's probably the discussion, and I don't think that Nebraska coaches bat an eye at that. Nebraska volleyball at this point is part of the front porch of the university. I have little doubt that it draws students who aren't athletes to the school, who desire to be a part of it and desire to go to a school where the program is really, really good. And so I think that is a wise and thoughtful investment. And I suspect all the coaches feel the same way. the reality is the revenue sharing pool is finite. There's a cap on it, and schools are going to have to decide. And this includes Nebraska. And this is what Amy was writing about, and Troy said. Just decide which sports they're going to prioritize. Obviously, football and men's basketball, as revenue sports, are going to get revenue sharing. After that, what's the order? And volleyball, baseball, wrestling. These are all sports that are supported. Softball. These are all sports that are supported in other spots.
Sure.
And that's probably the conversation that you have to have, and that I'm sure he has had, because everybody wants to win, and so everybody wants the most resources they can get. And you hear a lot about investment. Obviously that was a conversation and Tom Chattel wrote about this, of Brian O'Connor moving from Virginia to Mississippi State. It's about investment. I'm intrigued to see how NIL deals are going to work if the House settlement is approved and you have a clearinghouse. I don't know what kind of NIL deals you're going to sign baseball players to, but maybe you can do it, because you can maybe sign them to a glove deal or something like that.
Sure.
There's ways of getting that vehicle, but I think if Amy's piece was excellent on Troy Dannon. She's had a couple actually. I think she'll have a couple more. So stay tuned for more. But yeah, I think Dannon is trying to navigate, that conversation among all the sports.
So you use the word investment, and I think Nebraska Athletics is a Fortune 500 company, and you kind of have to run it like that, where football, men's basketball, and volleyball are kind of standalones, because you get a nice return on investment there. Then you have to prioritize. So let's approach it from this way: of softball, baseball, women's basketball, wrestling. You can throw in track and field, soccer, the other sports that are out there. Which sport does Nebraska get the most benefit from that sport winning because of your investment?
Outside of the three?
Yes.
Good question. I would say that the one with the most upside, if they won really, really big, would probably be women's basketball or baseball. It's very hard to win in women's basketball. It does take quite a bit of investment. I think that's obvious now. It's not easy. The sport is fully, top to bottom, and volleyball's not even there yet. Like, it's getting there. Professional volleyball is getting there, and that's great to see. And in 10 years' time, it will be, I think, where women's professional basketball is. But to win in women's basketball, you're going to have to invest a lot of money, especially if you're in the middle of the country, or you need a Caitlin Clark-like person, like Iowa had, in order to sort of kickstart that and get it going. Nebraska's a baseball state. That's very underrated in that way. People don't necessarily know that about this state, but Nebraskans love their baseball.
Yeah.
And if that team's really good, then that team brings a lot of interest and heat. The challenge there, and I kind of wrote about it, Chattel wrote about it, is it's a heavily invested sport now. Like the SEC, I understand they're only going to get 3 or 4 teams in the College World Series this year, but the SEC is dominant. So if you want to go play in that sandbox, you have to have money. And then within the SEC sandbox, there's like another sandbox, and that's where LSU and Arkansas and Tennessee are. There's a whole different sandbox. Once you get inside that sandbox, so I think Nebraska would be content getting in the first sandbox, which is kind of like where Mississippi is, Mississippi State, and then there's that extra sandbox where Texas and LSU and all those other teams live, and you need somebody to come along who can really fund it. So it's going to be an ongoing conversation, and I think in baseball, it could be that scholarships help you, and that helps things along. It could be that revenue sharing helps. I think in volleyball, again, what you want to do is maintain your advantage, and you just want to be obviously the best program in America. And if you look at their roster right now, and the level of player that they have and the level of depth and competition that they're going to bring to the table, it's hard to argue that Nebraska doesn't have the best program. I know they haven't won a national championship in a while, but their consistency would indicate that they're at the top.
You referenced it, but Tom Chattel also had an article yesterday, and he was talking about baseball, and I'll read you a quote from this article.
Yeah.
He said, as ESPN analyst Kyle Peterson told me recently, UCLA, Oregon, and USC are spending about the same amount on baseball as Nebraska. According to the NCAA financial report, NU spent $4.5 million in a fiscal year in 2023-2024. UCLA spent $4.2 million. What do you think is holding back Nebraska from having similar success to UCLA, who is now in a super regional in the NCAA baseball tournament?
I think Tom's article goes on to kind of unpack that, the competition for high school baseball in California is probably pretty fierce, and that Nebraska doesn't necessarily have a lot of players from Florida, California, and Texas. I think they have 5 from Texas. Some of it is related to a recruiting base. And so I think that's one of the things that he points out. Obviously, Nebraska spends more money than UCLA in baseball. They have to be spending more of it on recruiting than UCLA does, because UCLA doesn't have to go very far to land its players. And so, I think Nebraska probably spends a little bit more money there. But it is true that Nebraska baseball spends a lot of money, arguably more than any team in the Big Ten. There's some schools we don't have their budget information, like USD. But remember that Nebraska really, it pays it pays a lease fee for Haymarket Park, but it's not responsible for the maintenance. So none of the money, there's no maintenance money fixed into that. And so, or very little, because most of those facilities out there, the ball field doesn't belong to, it's the city and Nebraska. I think the Alex Gordon Center belongs to Nebraska, so on and so forth. But so Nebraska's spending money. I think it's a question of, from my perspective, in order to get into that next echelon, guys, you're going to have to get power bats, and pitching depth helps for sure. But you've got to get some guys that can swing it, because you get into these regionals and you have to score runs. By the time you get to Sunday, there's a lot of runs being scored. Elimination game, the regional final between Ole Miss and Murray State's 12-11. LSU, Little Rock was 10-6. North Carolina, Oklahoma was 11-5. You're rarely going to lock it down with just pitching. When you get to the end of the super regionals, and you get to the end of the CWS, you got to have hitting. And Nebraska, I think, needs to have a few more livelier bats. Guys that can just hit it over the wall, especially early in the season, because that's when you build your NCAA tournament resume if you're a Big Ten team. So you got to be able to hit them in February and March, and not just, in May.
Hey, this is in the world of special teams. Nebraska's going to have 2 punters battling out that have never punted at the college level. But they got a special teams coach, which we all know from his past and his current resume. He's really, really good. Should there be a concern of punting and place kicking? Because I know Hull had a nice end of the year. Alvano had a nice spring for the most part. But it seems like when you turn left or you turn right, one of them is dinged up.
Right.
Do we know the punting and place kicking? Do we have to be concerned, or is it like Mike Eckler's got it? Don't worry about it, kids.
My stance on place kicking is always the same. You can put the wedge in the golfer's hand, but he's got to make the swing. So there's a little bit of whatever you want to call it, variation in the kicking game, in the place kicking game. Kicker's got to go out and make the kick, and Mike Eckler can't do that for him. And that's true of every football program out there. I mean, Ohio State wasn't great kicking the ball all the time last year. And that's reality as it comes to place kicking. I think you can get better there, and I think the operation can get better, and I think the snap and the hold and all that, but the kicker still got to go make the kick. In punting, which I personally think is more important because it's related to field position, which is probably the most under-discussed aspect of football. In punting, the system they're going to is a system. Now, it doesn't mean that the guy's not really talented, because he could be, Torrey Taylor. But when you go to a rugby punting system, what you're saying is we're going to give the ball to this guy back here. He has a skill set to be able to roll left or right and hit the ball probably on the ground at times, not always, but sometimes it'll be sort of along the ground. End of the year, the guy's 17-19, but sometimes, they're 13 of 19, and those 4 misses are backbreakers. And then sometimes a guy can go 5 of 11 to start half the year, and then the back half of the year they're 9 of 10, and they win you 2 games. That's just place kicking. It's fascinating and it's hard, even though they're not necessarily getting hurt or in the violent part of the football game. Kicking is hard, and it's mental, and it's also like repetitive motion and all that other stuff. So I'm sure Eckler has a plan for that, and I'll be curious to see how he coaches the mindset, but it's up to the kickers to make the kick.
Yep, absolutely. Sam, appreciate the conversation, my friend. Have a great week.
Take care.
Thanks, Sam.
Sam McCune of the Omaha World Herald. We're back with more after this. All right, wrapping up the hour. Brian Christopherson will stop by coming up at 9. Some good stuff in there. A conversation with Sam that we'll touch on. Larry Coker up for the College Football Hall of Fame. Yay or nay?
Yay. Jimmy?
I'll say nay.
That 0-1 Miami team was just so damn good. And even like the years after it, like I know trying to recapture that success is so tough, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they were still
should Butch Davis get?
They were still pretty good the following years as well.
It.
Like I just think when you're a legendary coach for a legendary team like that, that you deserve to have that.
Butch Davis in the College Football Hall of Fame? He's got to be, right?
I don't think so.
Really? Man, because Larry Coker was the OC under Butch Davis from that run from 95 to 2000 before Larry Coker took over.
Which then
he's not in the College Football Hall of Fame.
Well, then he must not have a win percentage because his post-Miami career. Is his win percentage not 600?
Oh, I'm on his pro football.
So there's only 3 coaches in the history of Miami football that have won 80% of their games. Jimmy Johnson, Dennis Erickson, and Larry Coker.
Butch Davis has a record in college football of 103-75, puts him at 57.9% win percentage.
So
funny enough, his last 2 years at Florida International in 2020 and 2021, where he was 1-16, probably did him in. That did him in. He would be over 60 if he didn't have those 2 years at FIU.
Larry Coker, 60-15. In his brief time as the head coach, he wasn't there very long, and then moved to Naples, Florida, and as a grandpa, ran a Cub Scout unit for his grandkid.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
He also gave birth to UTSA football.
He became a ticket client of mine.
That's cool. That's actually really cool.
Yeah.
Hey, Gary Matt is brought to you by AGR Roofing and Construction here in Omaha. Go on their website, agrroofingconstruction.com, to get your free estimate.
All right, the person in your office or go to the grocery store, wherever you might be today, and they got a big smile on their face because it's Kegs Day. Jack Caglione makes his debut with the Kansas City Royals in St. Louis. I am so glad that no one has tried to tamper down. Hey, he's a rookie. He's going to face some adversity. You got to be careful. They have leaned deeply into this, and I'm all here for it because I think that Jack Caglione will have a Kyle Schwarber type Major League Baseball career before it's all said and done.
Ooh, I like that comp. I do think that Cags will have probably a higher batting average just because I think that he's shown the ability to not just have launch angle type swings where he can put it on the ground. He can hit line drives. I mean, you talked about how much you like that opposite field hit in his second game. Like, he can do that. Schwarber has kind of just been launch angle guy and walk guy, which, by the way, it's worked out perfectly for him in Philadelphia. But I debut. Is my guess. I think that I just feel like it happens more oftentimes than not where you got the big prospect. It's one of those prospects where you just know he's going to be really good. He's just done too much, and just there are too many numbers that indicate that he's going to be a very good MLB player. But it's his first game. His whole family's going to be there. Kansas City super excited for him. He's an integral part already of this team. Like, he comes in as in a very important bat. I think he has 3 strikeouts today.
Yeah, he's going to face some adversity, but he's going to hit a ball 121 miles off the bat before long, and people are going to go, oh my gosh. But if he does succeed right away, watch out. It'll be all in Kansas City. And now the window has opened up on the Bobby Witt Jr. World Championship because
I say so.
They added Jack Caglione, who will be a box office draw. I think he just needs to be good enough initially, but also he's going to help college baseball. One, he helps because of his size and because we are into the dongs. We love the home runs. They get more attention than Bobby Witt Jr. going from home to third on a triple into the corner. Has a into the left field corner as a right-handed batter, which is amazing. But he's named Jack, and they spell it J-A-C. Think about that, boys and girls, and ladies and gentlemen, when you're having kids and you want to name them and think about having a professional career.
Sure.
You can't have a normal naming rights. Like Gary's, Matts, and Jimmy's are not doing well in the pros.
No.
You need to be unique. And Jeffrey Allen Caglione, and you take it Jack, people go, oh, where's the K? Oh, no, it's just Jack. It's a different type of name. But why I say he helps college baseball, because a year ago, he was pumping 100 for the bully Kevin O'Sullivan and hitting 450-foot home runs in college baseball. And most of the time, we don't pay attention to the Major League Baseball draft because those guys spend about 3-4 years in the minors. Jack Caglione, Paul Skeens, Dylan Cruz, that group in the last couple of years have ascended quickly.
Yeah.
And they have gone basically straight to the pros with a stop here or there in some remote outpost in America. I think it helps the attention of the draft, but it helps the attention of the college baseball because you might look at a guy and go, ooh, that Liam Doyle who I saw last night that was pumping his fist at the whatever the Wake Forest coach was hollering at the Tennessee players.
Yeah,
that's a guy, man, am I going to see him playing in the majors? So I think he helps the college game. He helps the Royals, and they have gone all in. Like, you look at their website, it is all about Jack. And if Jack hits a Jack tonight, man, Rex Hudler may lose his mind. He did during spring training when his brief time up with the big club.
Yeah.
Like sexy Rex had found a mate.
Isn't incredible that the Kansas City Royals, small market team, not spending a ton of money on players, legitimately has like 3 potential stars on their team. Bobby Witt Jr., Cole Reagans, and Jack Caglione. And it's like that. That's why I think everybody hates the whole salary cap deal with, oh my God, the Mets and the Yankees could spend so much money. But it also, you still have an opportunity if you build through the draft and build through player development to have a great team. And I feel like it makes it that much more rewarding that this Kansas City team is on the verge of going on a very long run. Last year in the 2024 MLB draft, this. You know how many of the top 10 picks were from college?
6.
It was 9.
Okay.
9 players. So I just think that we're getting to the point where it's very clear that a lot of these MLB teams, they just like more developed players, and we're seeing that as years go on. Like there's more and more guys who are able to just fly through the minors, where you don't have to worry about drafting a 21-year-old because he might start playing when he's 22.
And we're still on pace, by the way. I've been on my Skeens tracker when he's going to pitch in Kansas City, July 7th.
Okay.
Skeens against Caglione. It'll be LSU against Florida all over again. If you did not see the video that the Kansas City Royals released yesterday of Mike Jerschele telling Caglione that he was going up, it was funny. It was like so Jersch, if you've gotten to know Jersch in his time here in Omaha. Mike Jerschele is a fascinating person who can be gruff at times and isn't the greatest interviewer. If you catch him at the right time, though, he will tell story after story. His dad played for Bear Bryant at Kentucky. The family is in the baseball world, but they were really good football players. And Mike Jerschele tells the story of being recruited by Bear Bryant when he was at Alabama. His dad played for Bear Bryant when he was at Kentucky. But his dad was an incredible football player, and so was Mike. But he saw his path to what he wanted to do, playing baseball. So that was really cool seeing that. And then the day before, the Mariners called someone up, and the manager, John Russell, told that prospect in the dugout in Tacoma that he was going to Seattle. And it was a really cool moment. I am all if you're having a bad day, watch those videos or watch when they give like a walk-on a scholarship.
Sure.
That will brighten your day.
And you can just take the train, too.
Jersch is one of a kind. I'm so glad at the end of his career that instead of getting out of baseball and getting out of the Royals organization, he came back and said, yeah, I'll put up with Marty Cordero, and I'll be the manager of the Storm Chasers again.
I love it when he said, come give me a hug. You know, that was just like just a man-to-man type congratulations
Caglione can't go to the zoo. Can't go to the zoo.
He'll come back.
Kansas City's got.
He'll have an IL stint.
He can do all this.
He'll have a little stint on the IL, and as soon as he comes back, he'll go to the zoo. Heck, I'll DM Jack. We'll go together. I haven't been either.
Here is Nebraska Ball Mike on the Prairie Flower Casino Hotline. Hello.
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 Where are the Cubs positioned in the draft?
Whoa.
In the 2025 draft, I think we're.
Where are they at? Where are they going?
I think we're 18th.
All right.
Let me look.
That could be anything.
Well, yeah, kind of.
We need another Chris Bryant, Kyle Schwarber. I love
17th.
Kansas City, but come on.
Whoa. Have you not
No.
seen Matt Shaw's defense since he's come back up? The hitting will come. Matt Shaw's your third baseman.
Oh, yes. Defensively, he's really good, and Pete Crow Armstrong is an all-star. There's no doubt about that in my mind.
Might be second or third in the current MVP voting behind Ohtani.
I agree with that. It's been fun to watch. Matt, did you get my Twitter last night or this morning?
Did I get your Twitter last night or this morning? I don't believe I did. What did you tweet at me, Mike?
I tweeted at you. I want to make up for something.
Okay.
All right.
Pick a day next week, and I'll meet you at the casino for lunch.
Okay. Okay, Mike. We can do it.
When I went up.
We can do it. Let's do it. That sounds good. I'd like that.
I want to place a
Wholesome
couple of future bets, and I need your help.
Okay. We'll make some
future bets would you like to make, Mike?
Yeah.
I want to place a future bet on the Packers, of course.
Okay.
And then I want to place a future bet on Indiana football.
Oh, I like that.
Mr. Signetti.
Oh, boy.
You worry about too much, kid. You worry about what the basketball team's going to do with their NIL. You think Fred Hoiberg worries about that?
Mm-hmm.
You took the job at a basketball school, and now you coach football, and now you're complaining.
Wait, are you betting the under,
You're
Mike?
going to win 12 games? There's no way. I can walk if you're going to win 12 games again.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Wow.
That's like a big deal there.
That's content.
Hey, Mike, is there? No. Okay.
Religious.
So you just said, do we put this on the prediction board that if Indiana wins 12 games this year, you will walk?
My board hadn't made the plan yet, so go ahead.
All right.
Wow.
All right.
Wow.
That's
We're putting it on there.
That's on the board. That might be one of them. Okay. We'll work on that one. All right.
I think it's worked on.
Hey, he ain't going to apologize for anything. He is who he is.
If we could get it
He wants to get promos on people. He wants to act like he matters. Do it again.
Well, that's what I think he's looking forward to doing. He's got a good quarterback.
A very good quarterback.
He's got a good roster returning. It's not like
Has he scheduled anybody?
Say that again.
Has he scheduled anybody, or does he have the easy?
Well,
he's in the Big Ten. He's in the Big Ten.
That non-conference schedule would make UNO football blush.
Okay, so he doesn't schedule anybody.
That'd be correct.
But I mean, come on. There's not like it's
Kennesaw State and Old Dominion might be tough.
But it's not like it's mandatory for you to schedule the hardest non-con ever. And on top of that, I don't know if we could be screaming from the mountaintops with our non-con
Mike,
schedule.
I now want him to win.
Football going to have to put up with him in December again.
Probably. I when you said you were going to bet you were going to put a future on Indiana, I thought you said you were going to put the over, because that's what I would. Bet.
What's the number?
It's 8.5 or 7.5. 7.5. I don't think they're going to go 7-5, Mike.
They're Indiana football.
Yeah, but
all right, we'll
they
break
made
it
the
down when I get to the casino. You pick a day and you let me know between Monday and Thursday next week, and I'll go.
Okay,
all right,
we'll do it together.
All right, you guys take care of that. Mike, thank you. You've you got one of the greatest predictions ever. I hope it happens.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll tell her as well. Yeah.
We need this.
Did Mike?
We all need this.
Are we rooting for 12 wins
that's what
because
I was
Mike
going
can
to
walk?
say.
Or
think of the promos we'll get for that, and if we can get it sponsored, the money we could make.
Shouldn't Mike be rooting for Indiana? Didn't he kind of put?
Yeah, to walk.
Didn't he kind of put like a twist on it in terms of like wouldn't he be rooting for him now, or has he emotionally hedged his money with his ability to walk?
I don't know. I want the best for Mike. I never knew that the best for Mike would be attached to Indiana football, which is never ever.
This show helps somebody walk.
9-win seasons.
It's like a mega church.
Oh, not even 10-win seasons. 9-win seasons.
They did. So I like Mendoza as their quarterback.
Yeah.
They went to the portal for the secondary. Their offensive line looks like could hold up against physical defenses. They're not going to go anywhere. I don't know if they're going to win 11 games.
This show will be on
and
60 minutes.
They're going to lose to somebody, and Signetti's going to be a punching bag.
Oh,
and then
yeah.
he'll turn around and he'll punch back. But Indiana football is not going to be a walkover with him there, and they will be competitive, and they'll spend some time in the middle tier of the Big Ten, and that's okay. That's okay. He's a good football coach. Admit it out loud. And he doesn't care what you think of him, and that's kind of scary because we need more of those coaches in the Big Ten that don't care what people's perception of them are, because we have those that reside in the SEC.
They have
Signetti is our Lane Kiffin, but he's got an edge to him, and you wouldn't want to go out and have a Marlowe with him.
No,
with Lane Kiffin, you'd want to go out and you'd like to be, hey, single lane in Oxford. Let's get it on like Donkey Kong.
They have.
They have one of those blooming onions.
3 of their 5 offensive linemen this year will be brand new. But that offensive line was one of the best graded in PFF last year, and they're returning their entire left side. And then they have Elijah Surratt, who, along with Fernando Mendoza, is going to be a really, really good 1-2 punch. They are being looked over. I'm just going to say it. I think they're being looked over. I think we all think that this is a flash in the pan, and I don't think we realize that not only did they bring back a lot of guys, but they also retooled. Are you going to their section in the Athlon Sports College?
I was just
book?
seeing what the anonymous opposing Big Ten assistant coach said about Indiana. Just said they're probably going to be in the hunt for the playoff spot again. All right.
Hot take.
When we come back, there was a bully and an F-bomb dropped by coaches who are crashing out in college baseball this weekend in a big way. You guys are going to have to fill me in on what happened between Wake Forest and Tennessee last night.
Yeah, that was weird.
Figure out what the story is, because I'd like an explanation. Because Tom Walter, the head coach of Wake Forest, when he was here and they made that run before they were knocked out by Skeens, great guy to deal with.
Sure.
He lost his mind last night.
He got really mad.
And is that the best way to describe when you use that word?
Yeah, really mad.
We're back with more Gary and Matt after this.
Go yard. I don't write these. All baseball season long with Underdog's Pick'em game. Underdog is a leading place to make all your sports picks, and you can play now in your state. which is this one that you currently reside in. Millions of fans have already won billions making picks on Underdog. Will you be next? To play, all you have to do, download the app, choose whether a player will go higher or lower on one of their stats. You can choose from things like home runs, strikeouts, total bases, and so much more. If you get your picks correct, you could win up to 1,000 times your money, so you could turn $1 into $1,000 just with your baseball knowledge. This week on Underdog, should I pick Jack Caglione to, well, hit anything? The Royals need help because all week it was pick them to go lower. So I'm going to pick them to start coming to life. I won't hold my breath. Download the Underdog app and sign up with promo code ZONE to unlock a special offer of up to $1,000 bonus cash when you make your first deposit. That's promo code ZONE. Must be 19 plus and present in Nebraska. Terms apply. See underdogfantasy.com/web/deposit-match-terms. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org.
All right, BC's coming up in about 30 minutes. Listening to the promo, Josh was talking about his Husker Max article about stadium renovations. Think about this. If the plan had gone forward from the jump proposed by Trev, we would be 14 months away from it being completed. Because the completion date was going to be August of 26, but now it is June 3rd of 2025. By the way, turf looks great in person. The stadium looks exactly the same. But in the previous plan, the original plan, we'd be 14 months away from it being done. We'd be discussing the displacement of people in the South Stadium because there ain't no South Stadium. But
we'd be talking about the wind tunnel.
Instead, we got nothing.
Instead, we got West Stadium being renovated, as opposed to South Stadium. But that's kind of one of the add-ons here in terms of this new plan. That it's going to be a pretty massive redecoration of West Stadium. It is kind of crazy to think about the fact that when Trev introduced the plan, it's not exactly that it was met with happy sunshine and rainbows and flying colors. There definitely were people that were upset about it. And now we are, 2 years later? Roughly? Was it about 2 years ago he made that announcement?
What was it? It was right. So he made the announcement, and then the presser that he had was right before the Michigan game in 23.
Okay.
Because he spoke on the day that Matt Rule spoke right after him. Sure. So Trev came in, talked about the $450 million project. So roughly, 14 months ago, 13 months ago.
And now it's going to be a lot more expensive. A lot more expensive now, 14 months later.
Okay. So something happened in Knoxville yesterday. Tennessee and Wake Forest got after it a little bit. Liam Doyle did Liam Doyle things for Tennessee. But there is going to be a John Boy breakdown, I think.
It's going to be tough.
What's the story behind Tom Walter being caught on camera right before Andrew Fisher was at the plate, and Fisher hits a 2-run home run? So the ESPN cameras were on Andrew Fisher of Tennessee, and then they panned to Tom Walter, and Walter yells something that appears to be, "You're an effing F." There was no mention in the post-game press conference last night about the incident that was caught on camera. Wake Forest has not yet commented. What's the story here?
So Andrew Fisher, the night before when Wake Forest lost 7-6, Tennessee lost 7-6 to Wake Forest, he called for the Tennessee fans to, quote, double the noise.
Mm-hmm.
So when he got into the batter's box, it seemed like he was really trying to pump up the crowd, and he was staring into the Wake Forest dugout, and he wasn't just, once again, kind of the mob mentality of baseball.
Yeah.
Like, he wasn't acting within the unwritten rules of baseball where you're supposed to be respectful. And the Tennessee crowd really got into it, and it made it really loud in a hostile environment. And then he hit a 2-run homer. And I don't think he was very happy about that.
Chris says, Tom Walter, apparently not observing Pride Month. Now, I said coaches are crashing out in college baseball. So, again, my interactions with Tom Walter have always been really, really good. I don't know him, and I'm sure that atmosphere, man, you get squeezed in that ballpark, and you got Vitello in the other dugout is chirping and arguing with the umpires. But
that's just not a word you say. You just don't say that word. That's just
most normal people, that doesn't roll right off your tongue.
No.
So, well, that was going on in Knoxville. There was an incident in Conway, South Carolina over the weekend that the bully named Kevin O'Sullivan, who wins enough at Florida that you can't ziggy him, got caught on camera. And because he got caught on camera berating tournament officials at Coastal Carolina because they changed the start time of a game that he thought gave an advantage to East Carolina, he was called out not only by East Carolina, but also by Coastal Carolina. But through it all, and we'll discuss Kevin O'Sullivan and what happened when you get caught on video, and then, we got to make a statement. If it's not on video, you probably don't make a statement.
No.
I think one of the greatest lines ever in a, I'm sorry, this is my athletic director that's got a gun to the back of my coach, and he's got to do his statement because that was not his real statement. I think we got one of the best lines ever. The best thing to come out of the situation with Kevin O'Sullivan to me, first of all, people just recognize that he is a bully.
Sure.
That's what he is what his athletic director wrote.
I saw that they released a statement, but I didn't read the statement.
This is the statement. And this has one of
I can't wait for
the
this.
greatest lines of all time. And I think from here on out, anytime in college when your coach gets in trouble, male or female, this is the line you need to use.
Okay.
Quote, his actions prior to yesterday's NCAA tournament fell well short of expectations of how Gators treat people. I think every university in their PR department should copy and paste that. And so the next time a Nebraska coach gets in trouble or a Creighton coach or an Omaha coach, that is not how Mavericks treat people. So that's not how Gators treat people. That is fantastic.
That's a great one. That is a classic line. Now, here's my thing, though. The reason why I didn't read the statement is because immediately I just went to go and see if he suspended him, right? To be like, if you actually properly punished him for doing anything. And it's just like, no.
Winners win.
Winners
win and you leave him alone. He's a bully, okay? That's what he is.
I think it's cowardice.
That's not how Gators treat people, but that is how Kevin O'Sullivan treats people. He's got an edge to him, but he also is extremely successful. And he got agitated, not only once, but twice. And he had to know he was in public and that there were people filming him.
I mean,
it seems like an issue that he could take behind the scenes to voice his displeasure, that he felt that East Carolina was getting advantage. But here's what happens. Once you're on the ropes and they start swinging, they got you down.
Sure.
And by the way, Florida had a great path to get back to Omaha that they just tinkled down their leg. But when you're down, people step on you. And so the Coastal Carolina head coach backing up his people at Coastal Carolina that had to be berated by Kevin O'Sullivan. How about the stuff then that comes out about from the East Carolina players?
What? I didn't see that. What are the East Carolina
that Kevin
players?
O'Sullivan said that they said that Kevin O'Sullivan during their game was cussing them out.
I mean,
coaches in college baseball were crashing out. What the hell?
It's
people bitch about Vitello's actions. I want more Tony Vitello and Dave Van Horn. Come on, baby.
I just don't understand how just tone deaf both these coaches can be. And the fact that it's not like they just bursted onto the scene. It's not like they haven't been coaching for a very long time.
Well, which is worse?
Wake Forest. Wake Forest. Woke Forest. And
what the hell would you?
There is no benefit to saying that word. Okay, there isn't. There is zero benefit. Nothing good.
Oh my God, that's going to throw him off at the plate. Maybe he'll strike out.
And he's got to know that the camera is always on him.
I imagine there's a statement from Wake Forest coming today.
Without a doubt, there's a statement. And maybe even, once again, they probably won't suspend him. And I'm not saying that he should be suspended, but it's just like, how do you not know if you're both of those guys that they are at the top of the game in terms of baseball and that their actions, if they are negative, are going to be paraded
well, you have
around?
to, you know that as a public figure, and I get that there are emotions and sometimes you don't think this way, but we're in a day and age where cameras are everywhere.
Yes.
You know that, and one video is him in front of the dugout, and then another appears to be behind the dugout near where the stands are, where people can walk by.
This is Tom Walter?
No, this is Kevin O'Sullivan.
Kevin O'Sullivan.
You have to know that cameras are there. And again, I don't think he apologizes if it's not caught on video.
Well, and the funny thing, too, is that Kevin Schnall, the Coastal Carolina head coach, said in the press conference that 2 days ago, hey, that's a hunk of you-know-what. You can't do that. Kevin O'Sullivan is a national championship coach that a lot of people look up to. I'm so disappointed that he would act this way. And it still took video for them to release a statement. It wasn't even enough for them that the host head coach called them out.
All right, when we come back, a couple of emails after we were done yesterday rolled into my inbox, the Equitable Bank inbox, about Nebraska baseball. You brought up a question to Sam that I think we need to sift through about budgets. Brian Christopherson will join us top of the hour. The poll here, the internal poll about Larry Coker, Hall of Famer or not, most saying yes.
Lee Sterling chimed in. He said no.
Well, and
Yeah.
he's
And he
Miami
said-
season ticket holder.
Yeah.
Wow.
And loves him.
A
So
lot of
great
people
guy.
are like, if you win a national championship, you're in.
That's kind of probably where I would be.
Gary Patterson. The coaches are very underwhelming on this list. The players are incredible. The coach is underwhelming. Ralph Friedgen, wasn't he 75 and 50?
I can look that up.
Gary Patterson, by the way, should get in Gary Patterson falls into the category of one of the best coaches that developed very under the radar talent.
75 and 50, right on the
Yeah.
dot for Ralph Friedgen. It's I don't know why is the college football playoff so strict? Like it's like the major league.
Oh, the College Football Hall of Fame?
Hall of Fame, yeah. Why is that so strict like that? Like it's I don't know. It's just a weird contrast.
All right, we're back with more of Gary and Matt after this.
AGR Roofing and Construction is the official partner of the Gary and Matt Show. Go to agrroofingandconstruction.com. Local quality service.
You guys ready for the Madden curse? Yes. Hey, Eagles, you're out. So Saquon Barkley jumping over a cheesesteak, which would be a better cover, is the Madden cover boy. I don't think you have to worry about the curse. You know what I'm going to worry about if I'm the Eagles? I got a 28-year-old running back that's coming off a year where he had 450 touches. I don't need a curse.
I was about to say.
I need a guy that put in a lot of work last year to win a Super Bowl. I'll see you, Saquon, this year. Prove me wrong. I don't think I need a curse. I just think reality will set in with somebody that had an incredible year last year, that will catch up to them.
I agree. I hate that I agree, but this is the pattern that we've been on the last couple of years, where the running back has a massive year, and then we kind of just expect to have a down year after that, right? Look at dating back to like David Johnson and Le'Veon Bell. And like, if you want to come even closer, like Christian McCaffrey went through the same thing last year, where there's been over the last 10 years, sans Derrick Henry, where you just have these running backs who have career years and then, I got a hamstring. I got to get cartilage out of my knee. Oh, my ankle's hurting me. And they're just not the same. The Madden curse does exist, though. It for sure exists. Christian McCaffrey was on it last year. Peyton Hillis, Antonio Brown, Odell Beckham Jr. was on it. I'm pretty sure Gronkowski, the year that he was on the cover, like he suffered through a back injury or something
Really,
like that.
the only one here that has to worry about this is you. That's just, you and I, Matt. I don't think we have to worry about this. So our teams can just go and have nice seasons.
CeeDee Lamb on the cover? Wasn't CeeDee Lamb a guy at one point? Were
they good enough to have a cover? I mean, the Cowboys have their own curse.
Hey,
I
mean,
we'll be okay.
Cowboys sell. Dak Prescott had his fiance. I don't think it's his wife, or it might be his girlfriend.
Sure.
They had a child over the weekend. That was everywhere. Dove Kleiman went into full depth about Dak Prescott's newest addition to his family.
Wow.
The Cowboys are still America's team. I mean, the Thanksgiving game between Kansas City and Dallas is going to do
crazy.
Biggest numbers ever.
I mean, 90% Chiefs fans.
But even with the Cowboys, no.
Don't make
the Cowboys are still America's team.
You still have the star.
Oh,
you still
yeah.
have the brand. You still have the owner.
You still have, all of those things. You are the Dallas Cowboys.
I don't disagree with that.
People talk about the Dallas Cowboys, good or bad. So
they stay in the news cycle,
Yeah, they do. Okay, so really good discussion about Larry Coker. Should he be in the Hall of Fame or not? I want to go a step further. So Gary Patterson is up for the College Football Hall of Fame. The ballot is really, really good. The induction ceremony could be like banger after banger. So Gary Patterson, probably, I wonder if Gary Patterson coached in the Big 12, if the players that he was recruiting would have gotten more love with stars. Because there were a lot of players when they were not in the Big 12 that, were highly rated on websites, but they were really good players. I mean, you look at an expanded playoff earlier, probably TCU makes a few more appearances in that, but they did not have the keys to unlock it. But I'm looking at this from the standpoint, Gary Patterson to me is a Hall of Famer. But there's another guy in college football right now, because is Gary Patterson still an analyst somewhere, or is he now retired? Because he went to Texas after things got sideways at TCU. There's another guy in college football today that I think is number one in terms of evaluation and developing those quote unquote low and high 3 stars.
Ooh.
And he's done it. He's done it as an assistant coach because of the side of the football that he coached, and now he's doing it as a head coach.
Brett Bielema.
It's a good guess.
That actually
he'd be on that list, but this guy
in particular,
this guy is number one.
Jeff
in
Brom?
my opinion. Nope. You guys are probably not going to get it because you're thinking low.
Okay.
I think Kirby Smart.
Wow.
I think Kirby Smart is one of the greatest evaluators and developers of football talent. And you can say, look at all these NFL guys they've got. Why don't you go back and look at some of the guys that he's gotten to the NFL especially a quarterback, that were not 4 and 5 stars. There are a lot of guys that walked into Georgia that were not highly thought of in terms of the recruiting websites.
Changed their life.
That turned into NFL dudes, whether it be at Alabama when he was coaching defense there or what he has done at Georgia. I know this is like, you got to be kidding me because he's at Georgia. He's the number one coach. You can get whoever you want at Georgia. But what do we always say?
Well,
what do I always tell you, young Matthew, about Tom Osborne? The run in the 90s.
Yeah. Was about the walk-on program?
Well, part of it. But they kept the dudes that walked into the program as dudes, and they developed players that became dudes by the time they left, where recruiting websites, and they were very minimal back there. I mean, Max Ainfinger and the others were not, but those guys got better. Kirby Smart has that mastered.
So the way you put it best is they hit on their top guys, right? Your top dude, your 4-star, your 5-star, they are the ones that end up actually developing into that. And I do think, like we've talked about this before with Nebraska, right? Like it's great that you have a lot of these really cool stories of local kids like Nick Henrich and Luke Reimer and John Bullock, and they come on and they work your way up, but you win with dudes and you win with developing the dudes. I do think though, like with Kirby Smart, he's taken advantage of the area of the country that he's in, because not all 3-stars are made equally.
Yeah.
Right. A 3-star in Georgia is,
but don't you think that a 3-star in Georgia would get more love? Like once Georgia starts recruiting an in-state kid, man, they might be a 4-star.
Well, the fact that he looks past the star ratings and still goes after 3-star recruits and still goes after those guys that maybe, like, I'm sure in Georgia amongst prep schools, if there's a 4-star and he doesn't get an offer from Georgia, and then there's a 3-star and he gets an offer from Georgia, there's a whole like WTF, like what is going on? Like what is Kirby on? Like the fact that you're able to identify that and do that just speaks to as much as your development, like who he is. And the draft, I mean, it's not even like the first round draft picks too. You go like later into the draft, like he has a lot of quality, like Kaylee Ringo, like was a really, really good draft pick who ended up going to Philadelphia. Like that's a guy that like went a bit off the radar as well. But
I think Bill Snyder, Gary Patterson, Kirby Smart are some guys that I think are the best at evaluating and developing talent that doesn't make headlines when they're in high school or junior college. I'll take out junior college with Bill Snyder. I'll leave it as high school.
Well, the thing too about Georgia is that they don't need to take 3-stars.
Good list.
No, they don't. But I think he knows that those 3-stars that are going to be developed will make your football program better top to bottom because of competition and other things that go into that person fighting for a job and also fighting with a chip on their shoulder when they show up and somebody goes, hey, that guy was a 5-star at Buford. You were only a 3-star at North Gwinnett. He says, not so fast, my friend.
Well, he took 4 3-stars in the class of 2023. And that's indicative of the fact that he doesn't really look at the ratings and he doesn't care about the system, that he's going to go and he's going to get the guys who he believes can develop into the best. Someone who thinks similarly to that, Matt Rule. Matt Rule thinks the same exact way. He said it over and over again. We're gonna find guys that hit our measurables. We don't care what their rating is, whether or not they've played football. We're gonna find guys that we think are good for us that we can turn into football players. And that's the attitude that some of the best teams have in the country.
And then you have a lot of money when you need to win that battle to get a guy that is a dude.
I mean,
and then you're Georgia and you're like, yeah, okay, we can find that guy that'll spend money.
But
that's why the 7-on-7 is kind of fascinating. Something you just said.
Sure.
Because I think Nebraska is thinking that high school recruiting will come back. Because what they're doing, and then we'll get into this with PC when he joins us in a little bit.
It's an interesting scheme.
I think this is, I don't know that Nebraska, their 7-on-7 event they're holding this weekend, which is basically replacing Friday Night Lights, rest in peace. But Adidas is helping Nebraska. So Adidas might screw Nebraska with their alternate uniforms, but in this case, they are helping Nebraska immensely. And Nebraska's ahead of the curve in trying to do something like this. So I think they're thinking, we got to get guys on campus, and we're looking more 27, 28 prospects than current 26. That high school football recruiting will come back to closer to what it used to be, still with the NIL, but will not be such a wild, wild west with the money, and that we will be there committed to high school recruiting still, and we'll get the benefit of an event like this in 27, 28.
When more teams are focused on the portal, what does that mean? More high school players are available. Simple as that. When more teams are going after portal guys, you're going to have less competition when it comes to certain areas of the country, when it comes to getting these top prospects. And so why not zig when teams zag? Why not?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of people that disagree with what I said because they're like, you know what? You got money, go spend it. That's how it works. Well, you can't preach the way you build a roster and then just build your roster with a bunch of money where Nebraska spends appropriately. But their commitment to high school football, I truly believe an event like this, Rule thinks that this will settle down and that they will still be at the forefront of the mind of prospects in 27, 28 that are in high school and are not going straight from Carmel Catholic into the portal.
Sure.
That said they got to stop off at their first school.
For people who goes, oh, they just should spend a bunch of money. Look at Texas A&M. Texas A&M is obsessed with the ratings. They're obsessed with the prospects. They're obsessed with what 24/7 says. They're willing to drop all of these different bags and spend all this cash to get these top recruiting classes. What has that turned into? They haven't made the college football playoff. They haven't won a national championship. They haven't won an SEC title. They haven't been dominant there. It's not just about spending money. You got to be Kirby. You got to be a developer.
Then there's Texas Tech softball in a sport where you can have one player.
Yeah.
We got ours in Jordy. Now we just need that number 2 starter. That's what they need in Lincoln. All right, Brian Christopherson, number 1 actually at Husker 24/7 by the Q rating poll. It's been put out by Deloitte and Touche earlier today. He'll join us next. Take that, Brunsey Schaefer. We'll talk to Brian Christopherson next on 1620 The Zone. All right, let's welcome in somebody who I hope he had Byron Buxton on his fantasy team last night. Went for 5 RBIs and before a minimal crowd in Sacramento. West Sacramento, that is. The Twins beat the A's. Good morning, Mr. Brian Christopherson. How are you?
I'm good. I was part of the wide audience that stayed up to the final out of Twins. Sorry, I almost called them Oakland Athletics last night.
That was well, it was a great start, and the Twins have played really well after a terrible start. But man, Major League Baseball needs to get out of that ballpark. They can't go another year. The offense is quirky. Plus, they didn't even have 9,000 people there last night for that game.
Yeah, and Correa hit a ball that looked like it was, and people say, who cares, I'm glad he got out. But Correa hit a ball that looked like it was going to go 10 to 12 rows foul. And it's strange, the first baseman for the Athletics just waited like 3 feet inside the netting. He's like, it's going to come back. The wind blows it back for an out. They have some sort of strange, I don't know, wind machines within that stadium or something.
Hey, Major League Baseball hates the Twins. They force them on this road trip to go and play in Tampa at a minor league ballpark and now go to Sacramento and play at a minor league ballpark.
We get no respect, man. No respect, but we just got to fight our way through. Buck is staying healthy so far, knock on this table. Byron Buxton, that is, so we'll see if he can keep it going.
Just get Royce Lewis out of that slump. So let's stick with baseball. So we've had some chaos in the opening weekend of the regional. Not so much Nebraska and Creighton participating in the chaos, but we've had chaos, and this might be the last year of some parity because we're at 11.7, and now rosters are expanding, and the SEC is going full scholarships. So I think the portal on Monday got really, really crazy in college baseball. So with that said, and the current state of the Big Ten, where we thank the West Coasters for coming in, what do you think moving forward? We don't want to run here because this is a popular topic, but what do you think in the current state of college baseball, what it's to become, and Nebraska's place and their financial commitment? What do you think is the high water mark for Nebraska baseball moving forward?
Oh, man. I mean, I always feel like Nebraska's going to be running uphill somewhat with baseball. I've always felt that. I've always appreciated the coaches who've got them in position to get to Omaha and in some cases accomplished it. So you just need a guy, and I think Will Bold is this guy. You need a guy who says there might be certain disadvantages here or there. I'm just not going to factor that in the equation. I'm going to look at what we do have, what works well, and you kind of got to take the Matt Rule treatment to it. Some other programs are going to up the ante, and that's just the way it's going to be. But I think you always just try to position yourself with the type of squad where you have maybe a little more depth than the one this year, where you're in the dance, and then you find that 1 or 2 extra arms, that 1 or 2 extra bats at the plate that can get you through this weekend, and then who knows when you get to a super regional best of 3. So maybe stuff is shifting within the college baseball landscape, but I don't think your expectations do if you're a competitor over there.
Brian, Trey Taylor has made it a big point to be a peer recruiter and mentioned that he's in contact with players in Illinois who are playing at Mount Carmel and who are playing at Brother Rice. And for those who don't know, those are 2 powerhouses in Illinois high school football that produce some of the best talent. And when Nebraska got Trey Taylor committed, and even when they started the recruiting process of Trey Taylor, did they anticipate that it could lead to them having a road into recruiting top talent in Illinois?
I don't know that they specifically thought about that, but they had to know they're getting a personable kid who doesn't mind doing that sort of thing, because it comes out right away when you talk to him for like 5 to 10 minutes that he's just built that way. And so I think that this role that he's taking on as a peer recruiter is pretty natural. He's just he's like one of those kids who sort of like at age 11 or 12 feels like he was starting to build up like what you need for the college regimen, like the 5 a.m. riser type that is like, okay, I'm going to study film some QB traits for 45 minutes, and I do this over here. And I just think he's really balanced his schedule already at a younger age, probably ahead of the curve than some others. And so I don't know. It's cool that he doesn't mind reaching out to those guys. But I think the biggest thing going to come, it's not the stuff we're going to see on social media, although that can matter. It's the stuff when, like a 7-on-7 event, or you have some of these guys that are in town and maybe they get a face-to-face with Trey, and you're around it. You see the facilities, you're inside the stadium, wherever, and you're like, you can picture it, right, bro? You could see what we could do here together. And when you're in that setting, and you've got those guys, and you're not just talking to them over X, but you're actually standing on the end or around it, and you're like, there aren't all these cornfields right outside the airport. Not that there's anything wrong with cornfields. We give cornfields a bad rap with recruiting a lot, but that's what all the guys do think it's going to be, and then they're kind of pleasantly surprised when it's like, oh, there's a city here. So they get here, and then you got a personable guy like Trey saying, all right, you've seen it's different than your stereotype of the place. Now, why couldn't we win big here? And so they're getting that advantage they never were able to bank in on as much with Raiola, because he came into the class so late. So that's what's, I guess, fun to watch about it.
So you got a chance to talk to him, and he's in Lincoln, and I actually saw him yesterday, and he's kind of got a little Dylan in him, where I notice people are attracted to Dylan, and people come around Dylan, and they stand in a circle, and Dylan, shoots the bull. Trey Taylor's kind of got that impact. He's a very personable young man, but he is young. Is there any, and I don't know this, and I'm just speculating, because I think this would be a huge advantage to him, because when he gets to campus, more than likely Dylan Raiola will be gone if the plan works and he's here for 3 and he's off to the NFL. But how much time do you think that Trey Taylor should spend around Dylan? Because I think he could learn a lot from him, because when he gets here, he'll walk into a quarterback room that may not have that strong presence that Dylan has right now in that quarterback room.
Yeah, I think as much as he can, and even if it's not always just talking to him, just being sort of his shadow or within 15 feet of him when he's doing stuff, and just kind of like on the field or at some of these camps, watching how he leads, how he talks to other guys, because I do think Dylan has grown in that a lot, even over the last year, and how to communicate with his peers. And obviously has a few years on Trey, and certainly Trey can pick up some insights there, and maybe it goes both ways. Maybe there's some stuff Trey does that blends into Dylan. You're always trying to, I think, learn from other guys. I know he won't be intimidated, though. What's interesting about Trey Taylor is that if you go to like the quarterback university, which he came out of, Donovan Dooley runs it. There's a video on there, on their website, where he's sitting next to like Bryce Underwood, and at this time Trey Taylor's like 12 years old, and there's Bryce Underwood a few years older, and there's a senior in high school, and Trey Taylor, no kidding, at like 12 is sort of the alpha in that like conversation. Like he's talking about learning, just the process of learning as a QB, and it's just interesting the way he maneuvers even within that talk with guys who are a few years older. So I think having just watched that, talk to him, I asked him a question. It was real early in the morning. I was interviewing him a couple of weeks ago, and it was kind of a dumb question, to be honest. I can't remember what it was. I asked plenty of those, and like he didn't just take the bait like that. I always notice that in guys too. Like there's that guy where he's mature, and he like doesn't just accept the premise of whatever's being offered to him. He thinks for himself on it. And so I guess those are a few things that have just stuck out to me in the early parts here.
Special teams, since Matt Rule's been here, has been a constant conversation. Last season they had 73 yards punt returning. But even if you go back to the Baylor days, it's not as if Matt Rule's special teams units were world beaters. In 2019, they had 134 yards in punt returns. In 2018, they had 63 yards in punt returns. Just for a reference, Mike Eckler had over 400 yards in punt returns last year with Tennessee. Do you think that Matt Rule hiring Mike Eckler and making this big emphasis on special teams has more to do with Nebraska football losing some close games over the last 2 seasons, or does it have to do with the fact that he hasn't been able to really fully figure out special teams units since he's been in college, and he's finally decided, you know what, I got to bring an outside guy to do it?
I mean, I think it just was as simple as, like, when you got to the end of the year, and especially the way it finished, right, with the Pinstripe Bowl, where a game that was we had that strange score on the board for a while, where that score was 20-2, and it should have like ended up like that sort of game, honestly. And special teams like let it back in. It was sort of the period of the end of the sentence, like, okay, you're getting asked. Remember, like in the post game, if people watched it after the Pinstripe Bowl, like that's like one or two of the questions is about special teams after kind of this nice win where they hoisted a trophy. It was a fair question too. That's what it means. But that's what you're dealing with, and I think it just emphasized they got to go a different direction. It all added up to that point. Obviously, has a lot of respect for Ed Foley, and I think there's various reasons they think it failed within the operation. Beside just coaching, it was just one of those years. But nonetheless, I think he really stepped away and took a long look at his options, because he said he was initially like hesitant to take in Eckler because of the rock star. He's the former Husker coach. Everybody knows him and his personality sort of thing. But I think when he got inside of it and actually interviewed him, they were just so impressed with how he communicates and how he can teach and maybe get guys to just be like all about it going forward. So Eckler, I think his communication style is what really stands out the most. Like he's somebody that, like they've said, like he could go teach something to 7th and 8th graders and he'd have them listening the same way he would college guys. He just has that ability, no matter who's in his company, to communicate and get the message across. So I think they think he's the right voice for the moment. And now it will be interesting in an era where, like, punt return yardage doesn't just fly off the sheet, for teams. There's a lot of teams that honestly have like 100 yards or less. Like, can that actually be something that Nebraska unlocks? And that's where I think it's going to be a really interesting fall. Like, is Andrew Marshall like in the conversation there? Like, is a Ja'Cory Barney or somebody? There's probably a name I'm not mentioning that could pop in there. Like, who is that? And do you have that guy back there who is just sort of fearless in that DeMornay Pearson-L sort of way? He's always our example, but he just had that knack about him where when he returned punts, he was not only fearless, but you could tell it was just instinct. It's something that he could do since he was 5 years old. And so do they have that guy in the room is going to be a huge thing.
Brian Christopherson of Husker 24/7 joining us. You guys have wall-to-wall coverage of the Battle of the Boneyard coming up on Friday. Big deal. It's logistically, it can be a nightmare, but Nebraska has a handle on it, and I'm very fascinated to see how this goes. Before I ask you about something specifically in that event, 2016 BC, Mike Riley brought this idea called Friday Night Lights, and we went, And there was a guy named Micah Parsons who was catching passes. Then there was Dylan Raiola throwing passes. Your favorite memory. And then there was Ryan Clark, who brought his son here, standing on the sidelines, chopping it up with Pittsburgh Steelers fans that were in attendance. But you would have, I think the year Parsons was there were like 7,000. I mean, it grew a little bit. Do you have a favorite, as we close the book on the Friday Night Lights, at least for now, a Friday Night Lights moment that does not include Micah Parsons?
He's the top one. Make no mistake about it. Like, because just to add to it quick, Micah Parsons at the end, they're going out and they're doing like one-on-ones between receivers and DBs. Micah Parsons, obviously, that's not what he's going to play at Nebraska or wherever he was going to go. But he goes out and runs some routes, and they had some dudes at that event that weekend, and there was some like 4 or 5 like 4-star DBs. And he ran a couple routes against 4-star guys and just made them look silly. One guy even had good coverage, and Parsons like one-handed it. And I have never seen a high school athlete up close as freakish as Micah Parsons, and just all he could do. So that one is definitely tops the charts. It's hard to get beyond like Dylan when he showed up at like age 15.
Yep.
and everybody's waiting for him to let one go. And like, all right, let's see the cannon. Let's see what you got. And he was at midfield, and he put a rope about 45 yards down to a guy in stride, catching it at the 5. There's probably some people who have it on camera. I think I might have got a shot of it. It might be out there still. But it was like his first throw, like, you know, in the stadium or at the event, and it was on a line, and it was just beautiful. And so, like, that was like one of those where everybody's like, oh, okay, I see it. I get that this is more than just the name and all that stuff. So there's other. I think they did well with it for as long as they could with the Friday Night Lights. I like that they're twisting it and that we've got something new with a score attached with the 7-on-7 thing. That's what I think people will get into, is the competitive aspect of these kids who are going to come here on Friday for the 7-on-7 showcase. They want to win bad. These tournaments matter to them. And you are going to have some guys where, I mean, I think it'll get emotional and really competitive down on the field. There's not going to be guys just going through the motions. So that's what's cool about this.
More of an impact on Friday and the lead up to this for current Nebraska or a couple years down the road Nebraska?
Good question. I'd say a couple years down the road Nebraska. But both kind of apply, because you're sending a message just by having this event and with the sponsorship with Adidas, because I know others around the country are like, man, that's good. But however, they pulled that off. And if they do a really good job with it, there's going to be a lot of copycats. You know, Rule always talks about, and Bannon does too, about trying to stay ahead. Like, you're trying to find that next thing. And that's what Nebraska football did so well in the Osborne era. It was, whether it was, strength and conditioning, having a bigger weight room than everybody else, getting the nutrition program ahead. There was always something like, okay, what's the next thing that someone hasn't quite done yet? And so I think this falls in that example, like, of something where you're beating some programs to the punch with an event. And if you establish it really successfully, and it's a good event that teams, like, they go to it, they're like, man, that was really well run. The facilities are awesome. We're running it back next year. And it just becomes a staple to those teams that are involved. It's going to be harder for some other teams, for some other programs, college programs, to, like, do it and steal away the idea. So that's why running it really well is going to be so important. But I do think it's good. It's big for the 27, 28 type recruits. And also, like, I mean, maybe a few of these kids go to other schools, but we know in this day and age, like a year or two later, maybe they're like, you know what, Nebraska that was a pretty sweet place, the way they had it set up. I enjoyed it there. I like the coaches. You got to always remember, sometimes even if you don't get someone in round one, you could get them in round two.
Sure. Brian, and this is kind of just like a curious, fun question. Do you know if this coaching staff, or maybe even past coaching staffs have had the attitude of, you know, quarterbacks are great and the film looks great, but the wind is different in Nebraska and Memorial Stadium is different to throw in. And before we go ahead and we commit to this quarterback recruit, we need to see them throw specifically in Memorial Stadium?
Man, that's good too. I think you think a little bit about that. As much as Rule has brought up the win here with kicking and that stuff, I wouldn't doubt that that's at least a part of the equation. How do you handle it on a day where it gets up to 20 miles an hour? And, maybe it helps to be like that bigger, stronger kid. You know, going back to Trey Taylor, he's not the bulkiest guy right now, that's for sure. But when he walked by the other day, he's a taller kid. He's got a frame where, you know, he can add some to that, and he's got a strong arm, and you could see where that arm could maybe cut through the wind to what you're talking about. So I do think that is something that matters. If a guy just doesn't have enough mustard on it, he's probably not going to be able to survive here, you know, in some of those late October, early November games.
Yeah, you know, maybe then there's a guy from Gretna that shows up in your stadium for a state championship game and he throws darts through the wind and his name's Zane. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. BC, appreciate it. Great stuff by you guys. There's a lot of stuff going on at the stadium, and look forward to your coverage on Friday night.
All right. Thanks for having me, guys.
That is
Thanks, Brian.
Brian Christopherson. So I remember taking notes. So I went that night. It was in 17 when Michael Parsons shows up.
Okay.
Mike Riley, Bob Diaco, Trent Bray were all around him the entire time. So it was Mario Goodrich, Christian Tutt, Chase Williams, and Buki, Radley Hiles were the defensive backs that he was running patterns against. Ryan Clark's son was there. Was it Jordan? I think
Jordan Clark.
I think it was Jordan.
I think that rings a
Moses Bryant, if people in the Metro know, from Elkhorn South.
Yeah, Jordan Clark.
Night. Marcus Washington actually was there.
Oh, wow.
Who would end up at Nebraska. And then there were, I think Henrich and Hickman showed up. Max Duggan, I remember, was throwing the football. Actually looked really good. Graham Mertz was at that Friday Night Lights as well. So
that's fun.
Riley started it. Like when Dylan threw, and then Carter Nelson stands out a couple years ago. All of this was before Rule got here.
Sure.
So Friday Night Lights kind of, maybe they ran its course a little bit, and everybody does kind of their own version around college football. But when Riley introduced this, and we were all like, I don't know if they're going to get many people. The second year, the year that Parsons was there, they had about 7,000. I think the next year they had about 10.
So they were doing drills. This wasn't a competition-based
They had competitions, but they were doing drills and other things in shorts, and Micah Parsons wearing a midriff and
looking like a freak.
So they had Husker. They were filming it so people in the stands could follow along. And it seemed like every time you looked up at the video board, it was Micah Parsons and Mike Riley throwing up the bones. And everybody thought, man, Nebraska's going to get this kid from Pennsylvania. He looked good.
Tough.
He was impressive. And he
running
ran.
Routes is crazy, by the way.
So his 40, which is pretty impressive, he had been taking a nap. And within 10 minutes, they got him up and out on the field to run his 40.
Some guys are just built different. Like, that's the thing. We just live in a world where it's like, man, you can work as hard as you possibly can. You can wake up early and you can do the weightlifting, but there are some men and women who are just born. They're just born and they're it. And that is one of those guys.
We're back with more of Gary and Matt with Jimmy after this on 1620 The Zone. How do you think Sammy Sosa celebrates today?
What does Sammy Sosa celebrate?
This cork bat night?
It is 22 years ago today. The cork bat.
It was cold for June that night.
That was a bad moment. Is he already? I mean, PEDs were there. It's kind of evident. That was the cherry on top. The fact that he not only was doing the needle, but then also corking the bat. Oof.
Bartman bailed him out later that year.
Did you see there was this Twitter account that posted like the all like century team for the Chicago Cubs,
Yeah,
but it was
despicable.
It was just full of niche names.
Yeah.
You didn't like it?
I mean, come on, that shows you a bad run. Now, so 22 years ago today, they're playing Tampa Bay, and Sammy gets caught with a cork bat. That was when Sammy was black. Now he looks like he's the Pink Panther.
Crossed my mind.
He's got a lot of work done.
There is the other thing. I had a friend, and he's no longer in the friend circle. Matter of fact, I haven't talked to him in a long time.
Oh wow!
Because he was a Cardinal fan, and somehow we got along.
I have one of those.
And I tried to explain to him because I was defending Sammy Sosa. I was saying, hey, he uses it for batting practice. He just mistakenly picked it up to use in a game. It's not a big deal. So the next time I see this person, and again, they're not in my life, and you know what? Enjoy the way the Cardinals are playing right now because the Cubs are one of the best teams in all of baseball.
Hell yeah, Ray Langford.
He showed up at my house one day to hang out, and he was wearing a Cubs shirt. And I'm like, uh-oh, because I saw it from afar.
Yeah.
Yeah, instead of Cubs, it said cork. That we were not friends much longer after that. Very creative, but I didn't need that at the time because I was a staunch defender of my Sammy Sosa.
So I have two Sammy Sosa bobbleheads. Okay, one of them we got it pre 2001, and one of them was post
Good summer
2001. Okay, where clearly there was a discrepancy in what was going on in Sammy's body, and the first pre-2001 Sammy Sosa bobblehead, he's a little shorter, he's a little pudgier, like, he just kind of looks like a regular guy.
This could be a good thesis.
The post-2001 Sammy Sosa bobblehead looks chiseled, like the jawline's there, the head is bigger, like the shoulders are broader, like you could literally tell through the bobblehead nights, like what Sammy was doing during that offseason. So funny. They're just right next to each other.
So there's another connection to that night. So that night was 22 years ago, the Sammy Sosa cork bat night.
I know where I was the night after.
Do you know what the connection is between George Brett and Sammy Sosa? So you had the pine tar incident and then the cork bat incident.
No, was it on the same day? Just
no. Pine tar was July 24th, 1983.
Yeah. I knew it was in July. I couldn't remember the date.
I don't know if this is brought up.
I was watching it.
And he has passed on, but he was from Iowa. And actually, Pops knew him really well. Tim McClellan, the same umpire behind the plate for the George Brett Pine Tar game, was the same umpire behind the plate at Wrigley Field that night in the Sammy Sosa cork bat game.
I had his trading card.
That's incredible.
Back when we knew all the umpires.
Is it what I thought there was another one of the, didn't like Joe West have like an incident like that?
He's had a couple. He was great at Naked Gun.
Joe West had a lot of incidences.
Should have won an Oscar for Naked Gun.
I was lucky enough to sit like not that far away from Joe West when he was doing a game in Wrigley. I was like in row 6, and the chirping from like the fans to Joe West was absolutely
incredible.
incredible.
Throw an umpire out of the game.
They were like screaming Hollywood Joe and making fun of calls and no weight jokes. It was a classy crowd in Chicago, but I've never seen anybody, even an athlete, get heckled as much as Joe West was getting heckled that night.
He was
the Ronald Reagan of umpires.
So he
was a former actor.
Yes,
I haven't seen. Well, he's a country singer.
Yeah,
he has a country
album.
album.
Basically, he's Chris Christopherson.
That's why they call him Hollywood Joe. I didn't know that.
There's the other part of Joe West, who I haven't seen this. After he retired, he jumped on a bunch of podcasts, and he was actually, oh my God, Joe West is somewhat normal. Mm-hmm. But I will never forget. He broke I think he broke the record for the most games umpired, and it was at Target Field. And I'm listening to the Twins pregame show, and Corey Provis, who now has transitioned over to TV and does a fabulous job.
Quite good.
The Twins, what Justin Morneau and Trevor Plouffe have done for the Twins TV, and I like Burt Blyleven.
Sure.
Burt was one of my guys. I mean, he was great to me when I was in the Twins organization. But the Twins television broadcast is really, really good. And then continue to listen to the radio. Friend Kyle Atterbury got moved up, and he's now the radio voice. But Corey Provis is doing the pregame show, and Paul Molitor was the manager of the Twins at the time. And this was the day Joe West would be working third base. I'm pretty sure this is when he broke the record for the most games umpired.
Yeah.
Because I think he retired at 69. He umpired like 50, almost 5,500 games. So Corey is like at the end of the interview, and he goes, he goes, Molly, today's a big day for Joe West. Do you have anything to say about Joe West? Silence. Paul Molitor says nothing. And like, it was very awkward. And then Corey goes, we'll be back with the starting lineups after this.
When do you think Angel's going to do his media tour?
I don't know. There's a guy that has completely just disappeared.
For the best.
I mean, the man sued his employer and continued to work
for like years, for multiple years. But I kind of would want.
I haven't even thought about Angel Hernandez. You know when the last time I thought about him?
When?
After Steve McMichael's was passing.
Same.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Because the infamous or the famous call out
in the summer of 2001. Great summer.
I would love for Angel Hernandez to go on a tour, to just go on pod, because I just want to know why he was so bad.
I think he's going to answer that.
Yeah, I want someone to be like, Angel, what was going on?
Do you think like fired coaches should do that? They should go on tour.
Yes, that would be.
You should explain
why were you guys so bad?
You weren't here. Were you here for the crossover when we talked about there should be a bit where if you write a speech and you don't end up winning the award
last week?
Yeah. This is the same thing. Like, tell me what went wrong. Like, wouldn't that make Angel Hernandez a little bit more popular?
Angel Hernandez sucked at his job. Okay, he just.
I want to know why.
He's going to tell people that I did everything right.
I want to hear the excuse. Like, you know what? Actually, I actually had a slight lazy eye that I didn't know about, and so I thought the strike zone was actually 3 inches to the right when it clearly wasn't, which is why.
Little Rock in the 9th inning last night got Angel Hernandez's.
I didn't see that.
Strike zone started to move a little bit. I think the umpire behind the plate was getting a little bit tired.
Dude.
He had seen so many strikeouts by Cason Evans for LSU in a row. He didn't know what a strike was anymore. And it got kind of interesting there. The strike zone for the Murray State Ole Miss game was kind of interesting late, and it benefited Murray State. Thankfully, we will not have robot umps in college baseball ever.
Good.
Well, the financial aspect of it, I don't think you could do that.
I don't like.
So
I don't want
figures
robot
it
umps.
out.
I like the challenge. I do like a challenge, but I never, ever, ever, ever want full robot umps.
Yeah, I don't even think we're going to get a challenge system in college baseball with balls and strikes like we have in the minors now. That would be kind of interesting. I don't know how everybody would handle it.
Well, you think they're fired up now? You figure they're angry in the dugout now.
Well, that's the kind of so the umpiring supervisors that come through Werner, they'll come and hang out with us and we'll chat. And Mike Everett, who has retired recently, but he was one of the best Major League Baseball umpires, and now he works as a supervisor, and then he'll go and work in the replay center on the East Coast. He said one of the big things about the pushback from current umpires about having a challenge system during regular season games, because it went really well during spring training.
Sure.
I don't know if you saw the guy from Tampa Bay the other day. He got thrown out of a game. He got into it with a home plate umpire and then tapped his helmet. And so that's an automatic ejection because he was mimicking a challenge.
Sure.
One of the things Mike Everett says, the pushback from current umpires is, how would you like to be at Yankee Stadium in a Yankee Red Sox game, and they show on the replay board as everybody in the ballpark stands there and sees if you're right or wrong, and you, to your naked eye, it looks like a strike, but the computer says that it was just a tickle of an inch, that it was a strike, and you got to put up with that. He said that's one of the things that they are like, whoa, how is that going to go?
But
it hasn't. Hey,
sure,
it's made. AAA baseball has. You don't even. The game moves right along. You don't even
notice it.
Well,
Matt
Matt Wallner had one of those challenges in the game that I went to on Monday where he was halfway down the first base line before we found out that it indeed was a ball. It was the most big league take I've ever seen in my entire life.
So that happened last night, and I would love to see somebody research this. When you think it's a ball, and you don't have the challenge system, so we're playing in college, you think it's a ball and you put your bat down and you run to first, and then it's not, and so you have to come back, what the next pitch is. If the next pitch is in the zip code, is it a strike? I would love to see like a research study of what happens because umpires get shown up and you're like, I don't care. Hey, you better be swinging once the pitcher goes into his windup.
I thought you were going to say, I wonder what the stats of that next pitch ending up in the ribs of the batter. It's kind of stand up. I wonder if there would be a penalty for that. If you were to take off your gear and then you end up being wrong, if they'd be like, oh, we're going to add another strike to the zone or you're automatically out or some sort of fine.
All right. For everybody that is wondering, last night LSU won. So max 3 teams from the SEC. There will definitely be one, either Tennessee or Arkansas. Go Dave Van Horn. There will be a max 4 from the ACC. There definitely will be one, Louisville or Miami. And we could have Murray State and UTSA here.
That'd be fun. That'd be something. That'd be different. Meet some alumni. Different kind of folk.
They're in the same city as Wemby.
Hey, do you think John Morant will come?
Do you think Wemby will come?
Maybe. Pop has free time now.
He'd be hard to miss. He'd be like, everyone would be like, I saw Victor Wembanyama.
Tim Duncan, maybe.
I have a better chance of playing in the College World Series this year than Victor Wembanyama.
Come on.
Anya coming to Omaha.
He's trying to get into the American traditions,
No. Do you even think he knows where the UTSA campus is?
You don't
Do you think he knows they play football at the Alamo Dome?
You don't think we'll see Victor having a Zesco's ice cream cone?
There's a better chance of Ed Orgeron coming back and having fun outside of Zesto's than
it actually being
Wemby coming to the College World Series.
Maybe I put that on the board. Victor Wembanyama will be at the College World Series.
Or Willie.
And then you'd have to be the person that gets stuck
tonight at 10.
Then you get the person that gets stuck sitting behind him. You're like, this blows. Why don't you just put on a hat too?
I think we can put him outside the stadium. You'll be able to see a nice view.
Back to put a wrap on this edition of Gary and Matt after this. All right, 49 states. It's just basketball, but this is Indiana. We're a couple of days from that being discussed.
I'm happy for that state.
I think they are more recognizable than the Oklahoma City Thunder, who are a better team and a heavy favorite.
Yes.
I think the Oklahoma City Thunder suffer more lack of recognition because of, one, who they played. They didn't play the Knicks. They didn't have Chalamet sitting on the baseline next to some semiconductor from Indiana State next to him.
Have JR.
That was an awesome tweet about a guy just being like, hey, meet Dale, who owns his own paving company.
Dale's a great man.
He just moved up to the nicer part of Indiana.
You think
his company runs himself now?
Hey, good on him for being a super fan, and he follows through. He's wearing the gear. He's also got a very supportive girlfriend who had an interesting TikTok about the Knicks' better win for her personal life.
Sure.
But the pictures that have come out, are you looking at?
I just saw
Timothy and Kylie?
No, I just saw the Magic's new uniforms. Oh, I might need a moment.
New?
Why do they need new uniforms?
Their uniforms are perfectly
They're kind of hybriding the past with the...
If they do another minimalist...
Did they find some help for Bencaro and Wagner?
No, they haven't.
Not yet.
Okay.
But they're going to look nice as a 7th seed.
Yeah.
I like it. Maybe I'm just being too positive.
I
today.
can't stand the middle one. The black jersey I can't stand. The white and the blue jerseys are awesome. They got the Disney logo on there too. It actually fits really well with the stitching.
Yeah, shout out Mickey Mouse.
Why is Orlando Jumpman?
Well, why is only the middle one is Jumpman? The other two are Nike.
I don't know why.
Why is there a discrepancy? That makes no sense.
I have to get an Orlando columnist on.
They wrote in the smallest font you could possibly imagine. Don't call it a comeback. This is a new era of Magic basketball and an ode to the OG. The identity for the next generation of Magic fans that pays homage to the legends engraved our name into the history books forever. A modern classic, making its world premiere.
Oh, yes. Long live Greg Kite.
Hey, they have. If you think about
it,
their Mount Rushmore of players would be right up there with everybody else's Mount Rushmore. Penny, Dwight, Shaq, Tracy McGrady. That'd be my Mount Rushmore of Orlando Magic players. Nick Anderson would be off to the side.
I was about to say.
By the way, Mount Rushmore, very overrated.
Like the actual...
Yes, the actual is very overrated.
I actually can't stand the whole what is your Mount Rushmore of sports conversations because no one understands. But no one understands what a Mount Rushmore really is. Your Mount Rushmore isn't your top 4 players of all time or your top 4, Orlando Magic. The Mount Rushmore is the 4 most influential people of whatever you're doing your Mount Rushmore of. The 4 guys on Mount Rushmore are not the 4 best presidents. They're just the 4 dudes who did a lot and who did the most.
That's one way to describe George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Teddy Roosevelt, and Abraham Lincoln. That's an interesting way to explain it.
I don't think that those guys are 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't have a ranking for presidents. Okay, I don't have a ranking. Don't ask me.
Why don't you? In your lifetime,
I'm not.
You need a bucket with a minute to go in Game 7. Which one of those presidents are you going?
I'm telling you this right now. I treat presidents and politics like the Grinch. I wouldn't touch it with a 34.5-foot pole.
Ooh, what a wingspan, though.
You don't have many presidents to choose from, though, in your limited time.
Yep. W.
Okay.
And then Barack, and then Donald, and then Joe, and then back to Donald. That's what I got.
Your ranking would be?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely
You should just take my question.
No.
Who gets you a bucket?
Well, Barack Obama is really good at basketball. I've watched those YouTube videos of him having his very famous.
So this is Game 7 at Arco, and you're the Sacramento Kings.
Now, if we're doing a member guest,
because it wasn't Peja Stojakovic.
I don't think the last 2 presidents. I don't think they're getting them down the floor that quick. So let's just leave them out of the discussion. I don't think Dub. I think the only guy in this conversation is President Obama. I think he's the only one that could go 94 feet.
I agree. Now, if we're doing a member guest, I think you got a lot of options.
Bryson DeChambeau was chipping on the lawn yesterday at the White House. So
Was he actually?
Yeah,
I did not see that.
They have a putting green.
That's incredible. That is so sick. Did they install that when he got into office?
I think the putting green
has been there
for a while. I don't think like back in the day of Abe Lincoln or anything like that.
Do you think he gets really pissed off when they're aerating it? I got a punt. What are we doing?
I'm hoping there are other things that.
But
you know what?
You said aerated. My mind went somewhere
It's
else.
August.
So, question: have either one of you been to Mount Rushmore?
No. And I don't.
What
have
happens
much
if
interest.
What happens if you plan and go out to Mount Rushmore
and fall off?
A settlement, I would sure at that point, but I don't know. I don't think that's where you were going.
Do we have a lot of cases of people climbing Mount Rushmore?
I don't think so.
Just
I
go
don't know.
to Shields.
Wouldn't you be tempted to climb that though?
No. It was hard for me to get out of bed.
I think there's probably.
Can we get the free solo guy to do it?
I believe that you might be removed from the country if you decided to climb Mount Rushmore.
Him breaking down. Have you seen Free Solo? It's a great documentary of this guy
Honor
who is
Hope.
crazy, who is just climbs. I forget his name. I saw it 4 years ago, but he just climbs rock formations without any protection or any safety or anything like that.
Great questions for you on the stream, Matt. This is not a bad idea. You might want to think about this.
I can imagine him breaking down,
making
Mount
a
Rushmore,
baddie
being like the
lineup
most
of
dangerous
president.
part is Lincoln's nose.
Who's the lead off through cleanup?
Whatever that guy you just mentioned, he has nothing on me because when it was a thing, I tried to master hardcore parkour.
No, you didn't.
Yes, because
How
why
old were
not?
you?
Huh?
How old were you?
What was it? It was about 15 years ago when that was a big deal. Like once
What
I
year is
saw,
this?
once I saw Dwight,
I was about
Schrute,
to say.
and Andy and Michael,
And jump onto a freezer
Hey,
box.
I knew that I could hardcore parkour. But my question about Mount Rushmore, if you go to Mount Rushmore and you plan, because it's not like you hop in the car from Omaha today and you're like, you know what, I'll just drive out to Western South Dakota.
Yeah, it's not like a Kansas City lunch.
Like if you pay to go see the presidents and it's like foggy or the clouds are hanging
No
low,
refund.
you don't get your money back?
No way. No way. If I go to a football game and it's really crappy weather and I have to endure it, you have to endure it. Life isn't fair. There are some things
But you can still see the football game.
sometimes.
Can't you still see Mount Rushmore?
No, like the clouds are hanging
Is it
low.
really that
It's
high?
not like you walk right up to the friggin' guy's nose.
But would
you're
you-
a ways away.
You go boot
I don't think you get like a voucher or like a
rain check?
ticket. No. Do you have to? How much do you have to pay to
It's
see Mount
expensive.
Rushmore?
Everything's
Really?
expensive. Yeah,
Thanks, Jimmy.
It's just a rock formation.
exactly. But
Oh, boy.
it's expensive.
I mean, it's a nice rock formation. It's
Very
a very
nice.
honorable rock formation that a lot of
Pretty
people
cool.
enjoy seeing. And I understand that there is a price to it, but very expensive is a little.
Well, it's a national park, so you gotta go to you gotta pay the park fee. I'm on
Let's-
their website.
Mount Rushmore costs. Mount Rushmore National Memorial itself has no entrance fee. However, there is a parking fee for vehicles, which is $10 a vehicle.
That's it.
Very economical price.
Oh, and during COVID, we could have gone because the parking fee was halted. Wait a minute. It only costs $10 to go see Mount
That's
Rushmore?
what
It's
AI
actually-
Overview says.
That's a hell of a deal.
I thought it was like expensive.
That's like lunch at
Fees and
Costco.
passes. Parking. It's just parking fees. Passes. You can get a. No, I don't see anything here. The access pass.
Oh, if I'm only paying $10 and I can't see it,
yeah, it's $10.
I'll come back another day.
You just get $10. You come back another day. What is
So
like
to go and climb on a rock? It's just a rock formation, according to you. You know what? Hey,
T-shirts.
You know what? You can go over to the Les Hills, and I bet you would find something very similar to Mount Rushmore if you want to climb on it.
Andrew-
I'm not telling you that you're going to see Governor Branstad or you're going to see Governor Ray. I'm trying to think of the governors when I was growing up. My cat was named after Herschel, but I wasn't alive when
Walker?
Herschel. No, whatever. There was a governor named Herschel something in Iowa, and that's what my cat was named after by my mom. But I don't remember that governor. My only governors that I remember because I got to meet them on field trips was Governor Ray and then Governor Branstad.
I've met Governor Pillen and Governor Ricketts.
And Richards helped
and
the Big 12
Governor
form.
Pritzker. Andrew says in the chat, there was a woman that lives here in Omaha that climbed Mount Rushmore a couple of years ago. LOL.
Did she also climb into the tiger cage at the Henry Dorley Zoo? Is that the same woman? Because that'd be a hell of a
Or
daily
Baton Rouge.
double. That would be a daily double.
Did you do it the same day? Hey, Margaret, you wouldn't believe the day I had. Started at the zoo and ended at Mount Rushmore. I would have Obama in the leadoff, Biden hitting second, Bush third, and then Trump with the cleanup to answer Charles' question.
So you usually like your leadoff hitter the most?
Yeah.
Makes me think about the 1990 Cincinnati Reds.
I'm going off your philosophy. You look less at the cleanup hitter?
No. I like putting my better hitter at the cleanup spot, and then probably in this lineup where we have some value, I put my worst hitter at the second, and then we have W at third, and Trump at fourth.
Somebody that knows her, because people in our audience do know her. They said no, Jackie did not go from the zoo when she got bitten by a tiger to the Mount Rushmore. Thank you for that update. All right.
They're great.
On that note, only $10 to go see Mount Rushmore.
A hell of a deal. Gas a little pricey. Weather a little sketchy.
That's not bad at all.
But $10.
I wish Sturgis wasn't like tampered down. I wanted to go to Sturgis when Sturgis was Sturgis. Now they've tampered down Sturgis.
Never been to Sturgis.
You have a desire?
No, I don't. I do have a desire to go to some places north of here, but that's for fishing, not for
Blair.
No, I want to go to Canada in the next couple of years, go and fish.
You can go to Ames. It's just like it.
Really?
Oh yeah.
No, it's not.
Do they call Ames the Canada of the Midwest?
No, they don't.
My experiences of
Iowa
going
fans
there.
call Ames something entirely different.
The Harvard of the Midwest?
I call Ames a good time when you're 17 years old and you have friends that go to school there and it's Visha weekend.
I didn't
did
say
not
it
have
wasn't
good times
fun.
when I went to Ames.
Just had to wear some layers.
We'll see you tomorrow at 6. Crossover is coming up next.